NBC Sports puts all the pieces together, blending a tradition rich in memories with innovation and the latest in television technology. Great moments come alive on NBC Sports.
Baseball is on tap, as most of you will see Billy Hatcher and the Houston Astros battle the National League's leading hitter, Rafael Palmeiro, and the Chicago Cubs. Or some of you will see sweet-swinging Will Clark and the San Francisco Giants going against the Philadelphia Phillies. Last night, the Phils defeated the Giants 5-2. Then we shift from land to sea for Major League Baseball. An inside look brought to you by Kentucky Fried Chicken. We do chicken right. And by Miller Brewing Company, sole sponsor of the U.S. Olympic Training Centers. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Marv Albert in New York, and welcome to the start of our baseball day here on NBC, a day that includes a talk with one of the great ones, the Say Hey kid, Willie Mays, our featured guest on today's pregame with Willie's former team, the Giants, among those on today's telecast schedule. The big baseball story: 2 hours ago, the San Diego Padres fired manager Larry Bowa. The Padres struggling with a record of 16-30. Jack McKeon, San Diego's vice president of baseball operations, takes over for the rest of the season. He had managed previously with Oakland and Kansas City. Bowa's comment concerning the firing: he said, if you're fired by Frank Cashen, you get worried. Cashen is a knowledgeable baseball man. But if you're fired by these people, meaning the Padres, you don't worry about it. Well, Bowa, in only his second season as manager of San Diego, made his final appearance last night. The Padres, behind Mark Grant, blanked the Mets 2-0. Grant's first win of the season. He's 1-4. First-place Mets have lost 3 of the last 4. In the West, Kirk Gibson led the Dodgers to a 5-2 win over Montreal. 3 hits, 2 RBIs for Gibson. The Dodgers now a game and a half in front of Houston. American League West, Jose Canseco snapped out of a 1-for-29 with his 12th home run of the season. Oakland beat Boston 3-2 for a 7.5 game lead on second-place Texas. Angriest player last night, Jack Morris of Detroit, upset over a balk call earlier in the inning. Strongly reacted to Gary Gaetti losing the grip on his bat. Morris and the Tigers lost to Frank Viola and the Twins 7-1. 8 straight wins for Viola. Ivan Calderon of the White Sox provided the adventure of the night for Rick Leach of Toronto, who had no idea. Lost it in the lights, and Calderon with an inside-the-park home run, although the Blue Jays won by the score of 4-3. And Tommy John made it 280 career victories as the Eastern-leading Yankees won in Seattle 5-1. 6 straight wins for the Yankees, but the Yanks hit with the news that Don Mattingly will be out for at least the next 2 weeks while taking batting practice last night. He strained a muscle in his rib cage. Mattingly had been going well after a slow start, raising his average to a season-high 320. Well, we'll take a short break here, and when we come back, a talk with one of the legends of the game, Willie Mays.
Football is my best sport. Basketball is my second, and baseball is my last. But I picked baseball because I felt that I could last long. In those days, we needed the money.
Free agency, arbitration, and player salaries far in excess of $1 million. The name Willie Mays is still ingrained in the memory of all those baseball fans who knew what it was like to have a hero, and even in those who didn't. Willie Mays is one of the legendary players in the history of the game. A Hall of Famer, 302 lifetime average, 660 home runs over a 23-year career with the New York and San Francisco Giants and the Mets. He was a 2-time MVP. He played in 21 All-Star games. And Willie was in New York recently in connection with the release of his autobiography entitled Say Hey, written with Lou Sahani. And we talked about a number of subjects, including today's enormous player salaries.
Do you ever think what you would be making if you were playing today?
Oh, why would you bring that up?
I'm sorry.
God, you know,
it's good for your head, Willie.
Yeah, it's good for my head, but what about my pocket? Yeah. But you know, it's a shame though, man. You see guys that saying today, and I don't want to knock guys because I never tried to knock baseball, but if you're making $2 or $3 million, boy, I would play every day. Sometimes 2 and 3 times a day for that type of money. I have played many times with pain. I have played many times hitting with just 9 fingers, my thumb all bandaged up, one-legged or whatever, and thought nothing of it. I have heard about guys that doesn't want to go out because they have maybe a stomach ache or a headache or the leg was not, well to run. I ran on one leg many times, and, ran pretty well.
You were 16 years old. Jackie Robinson broke into the major leagues. Can you recall your reaction when you heard the news?
When Jackie came in 47, we heard about it when I was there on a team, and all we could talk about, hey, we got to be a Dodger fan. And I think I was a Dodger fan before I was a Giant fan because of Jackie. I think I was pulling for him to do well because we realized at that time if he did well, we had an opportunity to get to the majors.
What do you remember most about that fabled 1951 season? Catching the Dodgers, winning the playoff series, you were on deck.
What I remember, I think in the last game, is saying to myself, I hope Bobby do something because I know that Leo would have pinch hit for me. He said no, but knowing Leo in those days, he wanted to win. And I think he would have pinch hit for me, and I don't know what would have happened to me after that.
Do you feel that Leo felt that you would have been too nervous for the situation?
That's my feeling. He said no. He said he would have let me hit. But who can say what after the fact?
And if it had come to that, what you're saying is if he pinch hit for you, that could have affected you later on.
I think so, yes.
Willie, of course, you were very close with Leo DeRocher. And in your book, Say Hey, you tell of a tearful moment at the end of the 1955 season when Leo told you that he wasn't coming back the next season. This took place in the dugout. Actually, took place in the toilet area.
It took place in the toilet. I was going to mention that, yes. This was about the 7th inning. I knew something was on his mind when he kept walking up and down because Leo used to sit on the end of the bench. Nobody would sit there. And about the 7th inning, he kept watching me. He kept watching me. So in the 8th inning, he called me in. He says, I won't be here tomorrow. I said, what are you talking about? He says, I won't be here because I'm being fired. Well, it was an emotional time for myself because you got to understand, 1951, I go into service, come out in 54, and Leo's still there. He's still like a father to me. Now, I'm losing someone that I feel is still like my father. And when he tells me this, I didn't want to play no more. I just said, I don't want to play. So he made me go out in the 9th inning, and I didn't go to bat. And nobody knows about this. In the 9th inning, I turned around, and I went up the stairs. And when he came back, I think that was a motion that I guess couldn't handle.
So you would not go to the plate?
No, I wouldn't hit, no. I just quit.
A lot of people in baseball don't realize that before you were dealt to the Mets, you had an opportunity to play in Japan.
Yes.
But I'm told that Commissioner Bowie Kuhn said no. Did he fear that it could have led to a flow of players going to Japan?
A guy came to me and he says, I have an offer for you to come to Japan, but if you had the opportunity, would you go? So I said, let me check. So I talked to Joe Rackler, and Joe Rackler, before I can even get out of my mouth, if the guy is you can't go.
He's of the commissioner's office.
He's in the commissioner's office. So I said, don't tell me that, Joe. Go and talk to somebody who's involved, which I think was maybe Bowie at that time. I don't know, recall. I said, but if you're saying what I think you're saying, why? They said to me is that you're like Babe Ruth, you're a legend in the state of the United States. And you can't just go to Japan and play over there because then we're downgrading our ball players. And I was still young. I think I was in my late 30s then, I guess, and we're downgrading baseball. So I thought, and I said, maybe he is right because we're supposed to be #1 as far as baseball is concerned. Why should I go?
Who is better, Willie, Mickey, or the Duke?
Why you want me to ask that? Joe D.
To get your reaction.
Joe D. Yeah. Joe D was better. Hey, I'm not getting involved.
And Willie concluded his recently published autobiography with the following words: all I ever wanted to do is play baseball forever. As many fans across the country wish that he could have done just that. We'll be back after these words.
I like really fat umpires. Greg, McSherry. I think if a guy's out on the field and he's not in the game, he should be in the worst physical shape a human being could possibly be in. I would like to see Eric Gregg out behind second base holding a bag of potato chips while he's calling the game. Just out. I think he's out. I mean, the plate umpire could have like donuts in his little ball bag there, throwing them out. Hold it, that was a glazed. I need that. Give me that back. I'll give you a ball.
Well, Jerry does not figure to be spending much time with the men in blue in the near future. Last week here on the pregame show, we introduced the start of a baseball personality poll to find out who are the most popular and unpopular people in the game, and we'll be announcing the results here on the pregame in 3 weeks on the show on June the 18th. Now, in the early voting, among the leaders in the most popular category, Don Mattingly, Dale Murphy, Gary Carter, and Wade Boggs. Among the most disliked thus far, George Steinbrenner well in front, followed by Pete Rose and umpire Dave Pallone. And Gary Carter, incidentally, is on both lists, like and dislike. Now, we'd like to hear from you. All you have to do is send a postcard with the name of your favorite and least favorite baseball personality, be it a player, manager, umpire, owner, league official. The address, Baseball Personality Poll, Post Office Box 4155, New York 10185. And we would like to get your comment on your choices. Now, we did receive some interesting thoughts. For example, Jennifer Raymond writes that her least favorite is Houston pitcher Bob Knepper because of his chauvinistic remarks earlier this season concerning woman umpire Pam Postuma and womankind in general. She says Knepper has set civilization back 300 years, while Mrs. D.R. Patterson of Chapel Hill, North Carolina says Keith Hernandez of the Mets is her favorite because Keith has soft hands, she feels he has a warm heart, and she wishes that she were 30 years younger. All right, we are closing in on game time. Many of you will see the Astros and the Cubs with Vin Scully and Joe Garagiola. Some of you will see the Giants and the Phillies, Bob Costas and Tony Kubek at the mic. Thanks for joining us on the pregame. I'm Marv Albert in New York. Baseball is coming up right after these messages.
At 33, Mike Scott has almost done it all. A Cy Young Award winner, National League Pitcher of the Year. In 1986, a no-hitter against the San Francisco Giants. And in the league championships, he struck out 19 batters in 18 innings, hurling 2 complete games against the New York Mets. But always under the shadow of suspicion. Always under the glare of the umpires and the questioning eyes of the opposing managers who sometimes pay their own price. Against the National League's most valuable player in 1987, Andre Dawson. 2 of the brightest stars today lead their clubs on the NBC Game of the Week.
The National Broadcasting Company. Now in its 7th decade of bringing you baseball's memories. Baseball's milestones. Baseball's majesty. And baseball's magical moments. NBC Sports proudly presents the Major League Baseball Game of the Week.
Today from Wrigley Field, the Houston Astros versus the Chicago Cubs. The Game of the Week is brought to you by the heartbeat of America, today's Chevy truck. By Miller Brewing Company, sole sponsor of the U.S. Training Center. And by Mr. Goodwrench. No one knows your GM car better than Mr. Goodwrench. No one. Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully, along with Joe Garagiola. Welcome to beautiful Wrigley Field, Chicago, the second game of the series between the Cubs and the Astros. The Cubbies using their favorite weapon of last year, the home run yesterday. They hit 3 of them. And for the Astros, the consistency of the starting pitching. They have a big 5 that is brilliant, but it's interesting to note their bullpen has lost more games than the starting pitching. Also for Houston, there is a power outage. No home runs except for Glenn Davis, and it's a ball club struggling with the bat. How serious is it when you're a contender and your bullpen is hurting you and you're not hitting? Well, let's go to Hal Lanier and find out about that, and here's Joe.
Okay, Vin. Hal, your bullpen has been killing you. Your club seems to stop hitting. What can a manager do? What will you try to do?
All you can do as a manager is maybe juggle your lineup a little bit, hopefully put some base hits back-to-back with people in scoring position. This has been our problem in scoring runs. With the bullpen situation, you just hopefully they will get straightened out, and maybe you can get into the 8th or 9th inning and bring your ace reliever in, as in our case, it'll be Dave Smith.
Thank you, Hal. That's his thoughts before the game. When you stop to think about it, with Larry Bowa getting fired, it has to be the toughest job because your future is in the hands of 9 guys out on that field. Back to you, Vin.
It's the oldest story in baseball. The only 2 people involved with wins and losses are pitchers and managers. And the Astros have lost 3 in a row, all by 1 run. We'll get to the starting lineups. We'll have all the pregame stats and stories, all coming up right after this. Here's the Houston Astro lineup. They've lost 3 straight. They'll open up with Gerald Young in center field. Then Billy Hatcher will be in left, and Glenn Davis, the power man, will be at first. Alan Ashby hitting in the cleanup spot behind the plate, and Kevin Bass will be in right field. Craig Reynolds will be at third base. Jim Pankovich, playing for the injured Bill Doran, will be at second base. Rafael Ramirez, the shortstop, and on the mound, Mike Scott, coming in with a 6-0 record, 1-0 against the Cubs this year, 8-6 lifetime. He has struggled at Wrigley Field. 2 wins and 5 losses in this ballpark.
The defense for the Cubs, Palmeiro, Martinez, and Dawson, a good outfield, especially with Dawson, Gold Glove man. Law, Dunston, Sandberg, Grace is at first base, Davis behind the plate, and of course, around second base, Sandberg is the anchor, and Dunston just keeps coming along, and they think he's getting to the point now where he's the player they all thought he was going to be when they drafted him.
The Cubs starting the game 1 game under 500, and they give the ball to Calvin Schiraldi, who last pitched on the 12th of May against San Diego. He got into the 7th inning, but he had to leave the game when Carmelo Martinez lined the ball off the inside of his left knee. The Cubs were winning 1-0 at the time. Cubs went on to win, but Schiraldi was not involved in the decision. So this will be his first look at the Houston Astros and vice versa. Gerald Young brings, among other things, a great deal of speed. He has stolen 26 bases. 1 ball and no strikes. Young had a stretch of stealing 17 straight, and then the Cubs' Damon Berryhill threw him out. 2 balls and no strikes.
Kind of a weather report. The high sky is going to make it tough on pop flies, and the grass is always here is very, very high. That grass is going to eat that ball up, and the outfielders are going to have to charge any ball hit there.
Breeze out of the south, which means it's blowing out, and that always means something. Prior to yesterday, when the Cubs hit 3 home runs, there was a severe drought here. The last home run by a visiting player, Kirk Gibson, on the 10th of May, hit one here for the Dodgers. Fouled away. The last Cub home run had been Van's Law, and then yesterday, Jody Davis hit a couple, and Rafael Palmeiro hit one out.
Then I doubt if we'll see many bunts, but if they do bunt for a base hit, it's going to have to hold on the grass because the foul line looks like it's tilted. That if it gets on that dirt part, it'll just roll foul.
Well, we'll see about Gerald Young with 2 strikes. 2-2.
I talked to him before the game. I'm talking about bunting. He doesn't like to bunt. I doubt if we'll see him bunt, but if he gets on base, go to the bank. He's running.
A difference in looking at this. The leadoff man for the Cubs likes to bunt, Dave Martinez. He has a half a dozen bunt singles this year. On the corner. Got him looking. So Gerald Young caught looking. We will have not only a sellout, but standing room only today.
You can see Davis right behind that plate with that glove target, and Schiraldi's fastball kind of sailing to the outside, right down the middle. A good strike.
Calvin, 2 wins and 2 losses. Ground ball hit to the left of Dunston. He has plenty of time. Cranks it up with that arm of his and throws that Hatcher easily. It's a couple of years ago, and I'm sure Calvin Schiraldi has put it out of his mind, but it goes along with his background and history. A heartbreaking home run for him, and a euphoric moment in New York for Ray Knight and the New York Mets. So Calvin Schiraldi picking up here in Chicago. His National League record, 4 wins and 5 defeats. That's a strike.
He doesn't have any trick pitches. Just a good fastball, a good curveball, and Dick Pole, the pitching coach, very simple. Work fast, change speeds, throw strikes. Get ahead of those hitters.
Glenn Davis started off remarkably well. 6 home runs in his first 39 at-bats. But as you can see, he's had only 3 home runs since, and it's over 120 at-bats. But he can hit them out anywhere. In fact, he has hit 1 more home run in the Astrodome than he has on the road, and that's remarkable because the Astrodome is like a Grand Canyon or a graveyard for long fly balls. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Good fastball, great location, and Davis kind of lunging at it. So Calvin Schiraldi strikes out 2. End of half an inning. Astros nothing. Here come the Cubs. Here's the way the Cubs stack up. Dave Martinez in center field. Rafael Palmeiro in left and Andre Dawson in right. Ryan Sandberg going from the leadoff spot to the cleanup spot with Mark Grace at first and Jody Davis behind the plate. Vance Law at third. Sean Dunston batting 8th. Calvin Schiraldi on the mound. And facing that lineup, Mike Scott and company.
The defense, you see it, Hatcher, Young, and Fast. Reynolds, Ramirez, Pankovich, Davis, Ashby behind the plate. Ramirez is happy to be here. He says over in Atlanta, the infield was so bad, you don't play defense. It's self-defense over there.
It's a good point because consistently he was always leading shortstops in most errors. Now he's playing very well wherever Houston uses him. Dave Martinez, we mentioned he likes to bunt. He has a half a dozen bunt singles. So that puts a little bit of pressure on Craig Reynolds. 0-2.
Mike Scott, famous for that split finger fastball. He really, I really asked him. He uses it when he widens his fingers as wide as he can get them. It really breaks down, and he doesn't have as good a control as when his fingers are a little bit tighter. And he'll throw the wide grip split finger when he's ahead 2 strikes.
He's celebrating an anniversary today, but he'd just as soon not talk about it as he takes care of Dave Martinez 1 away. It was 3 years ago, 1985 in May, and Mike Scott was pitching against the Cubs. Jim Fry, who is now the general manager, was then the manager of the Cubs. And Fry came out of the dugout with a box of baseballs that had been discolored and scuffed, presented them to John Kibler. There was a considerable amount of discussion, but that's all. And it was in that game that Leon Durham, on his way from first to the Cub dugout, went by the mound and allegedly found a piece of sandpaper. Well, that was 3 years ago. They've done all kinds of x-rays of Mike Scott, and he just rolls along.
The last one was a Band-Aid that he had, and they sent it to Porciamatti of the National League, and of course nothing came of it. And now they're accusing Alan Ashby of being the one who scuffs up the baseball kind of with his shin guards or dirt or what have you.
That's fouled away, and the count 1-2 to Rafael Palmeiro. Now, this will be a very interesting confrontation because Palmeiro just doesn't strike out. He has struck out only 5 times in about 180 at-bats this year, and he's against a strikeout pitcher, Mike Scott.
Here's where he'll use that wide grip split finger because he throws it for the middle of the plate and let it break where it's going to break.
1-2. Ground ball down to first. Glenn Davis will do it himself, and we have 2 down here in the first inning.
That was really a defensive swing, wasn't it?
course, that can be a problem, too. You get a reputation of being a fellow who doesn't strike out, and all of a sudden that's all you think about. With 2 strikes, I'm not going to strike out, instead of actually taking a good rip.
Just hope that you get that bat on the ball.
Andre Dawson coming against Mike Scott. Scotty is 6-0, trying to become the first 7-game winner on the Houston staff. And here is Dawson, who has not hit a home run since the 13th of May. Right.
If you're wondering what a catcher can do if he wants to scuff up the ball, he can sharpen up your shin guard and put a scratch in it. When you drop the ball, instead of just picking the ball up, you kind of push it into the dirt and get dirt in the seams. Belt buckle.
A one hopper into left center field. Base hit for Andre Dawson. So Dawson a 2-out single, and that will bring up Ryne Sandberg. Sandberg, long a favorite here in Chicago, and rightfully so, was hitting well over 300 in the leadoff role. They finally put him down to the number 4 slot, and it will be interesting to see how he fares hitting 4th.
He's been told not to change his attitude when he gets in the batter's box. Hit like you're a leadoff man, but that's easier said than done.
On the outside corner, Andre Dawson, who stole 11 bases last year, stole his first base of the year yesterday. No, Andre at first, 2 out in the first inning, no score.
Scott not very good at holding him on, so he can get a good jump if he wants to run.
1 ball, 1 strike. The one thing about Scott, the one fly in the ointment, the Achilles heel, whatever, is the fact, as you say, he's having trouble holding runners on.
11 out of 15 attempts. But the good news, no balks, no pickoffs, no wild pitches, and that's pretty good. No balks. Jack Morrison settled for that.
And Dave Stewart. Ball 2, 2-1 the count. We're in the bottom of the first inning, no score on a beautiful day in Chicago.
Sellout, too, Vin.
Oh, and the weather is magnificent. And, of course, the several big questions in Chicago. One, when will there be the first night game here? I guess if everybody's guessing, and the first guess is the 18th of July against the Giants, but it's only a guess. 2-1. There goes Dawson. And a chopper to the hole at short, backhanded by Dunston with that arm. The throw by Ramirez is not in time. Over to third. Dawson is in there.
That was simply Major League base running by Dawson. Nobody, no coach can help you. The ball is in the hole. Ramirez makes a good play coming up with it. The grass gives him some help. He knows he's got to make the long throw, and Dawson doesn't hesitate and beats the throw.
So an infield single for Ryne Sandberg. As we look at it yet again, and Andre took one look back, and when he realized Ramirez had to gun it to first, he just kept on going.
As soon as he saw him throw it, if Ramirez obviously holds the ball, he's not going. So you saw good base running right there, where he knew exactly where that ball was at all times.
Mark Grace, and the count 0-1. This might be the case of a kid feeling pressure at home. We'll leave it up to you. You see his numbers. All 3 home runs, all 8 RBIs on the road. In fact, he's hitting almost .420 on the road. Here in Wrigley Field, no home runs, no RBIs. He's a .230 hitter in 13 games. So it's tough. And, of course, they expect a great deal from him. And that's going to be hit over the leaping Pankovich base hit. That will be Grace's first RBI here at Wrigley Field. He'll get quite a few before he's finished. 1-0 Chicago.
He didn't exactly sting that ball, kind of hit it on the end of the bat, a split finger, and Pankovich really tries to come up with it, at least knock it down, got way up there, but he'd have to be Jose Lean of Pittsburgh to get high enough to stop it, and that's a big, big base hit because it was an educational experience for Grace to be going up against Mike Scott with that split finger, and any RBI with 2 outs is always a big one. That's good hitting.
So it is 1-0 in favor of Chicago. Scott, who has been ahead of every hitter, but has struck out but 1. And the key, the infield single by Sandberg. And now here's Jody Davis, who hit 2 home runs yesterday. 1 ball and no strike.
How the outcome hinges on small things. If Sandberg would be running like a typical 4th place hitter, he'd have been an easy out. But
and Ramirez did everything well.
That's right, he did. Got good stuff on it, knew he had to hurry it, and he did. Just couldn't beat the speed of Sandberg.
1 ball and no strikes. Scott off the rubber. So with 2 down, Dawson singles to center, Sandberg singles to the hole at short, and Grace loops a single to right, and the Cubs are out in front. Remember, even though Mike Scott has a 5-game winning streak against the Cubs, he has always had troubles here at Wrigley Field. He has 2 wins, 5 losses in this ballpark. In fact, he hit a stretch where he lost his first 5 decisions at Wrigley, but of course that was before he became Mike Scott, the split-fingered expert, the Cy Young Award winner. 1-2. Bring you up to date of action of other games. The White Sox on top of Toronto, 1-0 in the 4th. And the Dodgers leading Montreal behind Fernando Valenzuela, 1-0 top of the 3rd. 1-2.
One thing about Scott, he doesn't throw many other pitches besides that fastball and that split finger. I mean, he doesn't have 5 or 6 pitches, and he relies on those 2 pitches, so he really is in control of those pitches.
His strikeout high this year, he had a dozen against the Phillies. His career high, 14. And of course, he was brilliant in the league championship series. In 18 innings, he struck out 19. And in 1986, you might remember, he struck out 300 batters. 2-2, the count of Jody Davis. 1-0 Cubs, first inning, and there goes Grace, and the ball is hit into right center. It will land, base hit. In comes Sandberg. Grace moves to third. 4 consecutive singles. 2-0 Chicago.
And Jody Davis not trying to pull that ball. He goes inside out with it. Watch his swing. I mean, he will not try to pull it. He's going that way all the way.
So Hal Lanier, who has seen his team lose 3 straight by scores of 5-4, 4-3, and 3-2, so he knows his ball club is struggling with the bat, and he's behind in the first inning by 2. Vance Law, a strike. So with 2 out, 4 consecutive base hits.
And it's a long inning for Scott. Never mind the runs on the scoreboard. That's his 21st pitch.
Vance Law with those 25 RBIs, tied with Andre Dawson for the club lead. And he goes the other way, a flare to right for a base hit. Scoring is Grace, stopping is Davis. 5 consecutive singles. 3-0 Chicago.
As you look at this inning, Vin, I would say Dawson's ball was the hardest hit one. He's hit a single up the middle. Everybody else has been kind of placing that ball. Sandberg to Ramirez, he beats it out. Grace off the end of the bat. Davis and Law go to the opposite field, which is good hitting. And the Cubbies have jumped out to a 3-0 lead.
So with 2 outs, Scotty has given up 5 consecutive hits. And Sean Dunston hitting in the 8th slot coming up. For a ball club that has struggled trying to score runs, the Astros are hurting, even though it's only the first inning. Half swing for a strike, 0-1.
It's got to be tough to go into that bench and realize you're behind and got to play catch-up from the first inning on, and you're not scoring runs to begin with.
Interesting, too, that the Cubs haven't been scoring runs. In their last 9 games here, 83 innings, they'd only scored 11 runs. So here they get 3 in the first inning and perhaps not finished yet. Calvin Schiraldi on deck. 1 ball, 1 strike. Singles by Dawson, Sandberg, Grace, Davis, and Law for 3. And there's a drive to Gerald Young. He has to go and get it. It's over his head, and it's going to go to the wall. In comes Davis. Here comes Law on a triple by Dunston. might have lost it originally.
I started to say, make no bones about it, that the ball was well hit, but I don't think that Young saw that ball come off the bat. Now, it is a high sky. There's not a cloud up there to help you, and when he realized that he had to go back, he just could not catch up with it.
And Lanier and company buried by 5. Maddening lead for Lanier. Scott got the first 2 batters easily. He hadn't even had a chance to get anybody ready if he was thinking about going to the bench. Jeff Heathcock begins to throw now in the Astro bullpen. Interesting, too, about Mike Scott. He's worked less than 6 innings only once in 10 starts. He has allowed more than 3 earned runs only twice all year. 1-2. He has given up 5. Well, you talk about a high 5. That's about as high as you go.
And I'm sure that even as he rubs up that baseball, he's thinking about that ball that Dunston hit because it was catchable.
1 ball and 2 strikes to count. 2-2. So Calvin Schiraldi is the 9th man to come to the plate for the Cubs. They have had 6 consecutive base hits with 2 out. Got him. So Mike Scott strikes out 2, and that's not going to give you a lift home because the Cubs pick up a big 5, including a 2-run triple by Dunston at the end of an inning. 5-0 Chicago. The weather is as hot as the Cubs, and we've had to have ice bags taped to the sides of the cameras to cool them down. Yeah, that's great.
They didn't know they were on camera.
They'll find out about it.
They'll find out about that.
That's great.
It is a warm day here. Ben, I just wonder, there'll be no checking of Mike Scott, his glove, or anything else. You know, when you get knocked around, nobody says anything, because if he certainly could do something, that's been the inning he would have done something. Going back to Earl Weaver, when he went out to one of his pitches and he was getting knocked around, I think it was Ross Grimsley, and he said, listen, if you know how to cheat, you better start now.
Right this very second.
And that was Mike Scott's situation, because they pounded him. Grace's hit was the big one. I mean, with 2 outs, and even though it was a flare, he kept it going.
Well, it'll be Alan Ashby, Kevin Bass, and Craig Reynolds now against Calvin Schiraldi. 5-0 Cubs, second inning. Ashby, who hit 2 home runs in a game for Houston the other day, has hit 21 straight home runs left-handed. He is a switch hitter, but he doesn't get very much work from the other side of the plate.
I saw one of those hidden statistics in that Elias book. There were 15 interference calls in the National League last year, and Ashby was involved in 8 of them. 6 as a batter and 2 as a catcher.
1-2 the count.
Are they watching everything?
Hell. Of course, the Astros watching him, which is one reason why they picked up Alex Trevino to be the backup catcher. That 125 hitting right-handed meant they needed somebody. 1-2. 2-2.
That's why sometimes it's almost a joke when they say a guy's a switch hitter.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're hitting 125, you're not a switch hitter. You're just batting left-handed.
Right, exactly. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Alan Ashby. This is the longest road trip for the Astros prior to the All-Star break. St. Louis, Pittsburgh, and Chicago, and this is the 8th game of this 9-game trip. And the Astros are struggling. They've won 3 and lost 4 on the road. Houston is under 500 on the road. They're a very good ball club in the Astrodome. One reason they're hurting, a particularly important one, they're playing without Bill Doran. And they can ill afford to lose Doran, and he's been out twice.
And that's unusual. Well, last year he played 162 games.
Well, he had a jammed shoulder that took him out from 29th of April to the 4th of May, and he hasn't played again since the 17th of May with a strained left hamstring. And by the way, happy birthday to Bill Doran. He's 30 years old today. He probably feels 50. 3-2. So Ashby just trying to get aboard. Kevin Bass on deck. High foul ball off first, hooking down the line, and will go back into the stands out of play. We were talking about switch hitters who aren't. And on deck is another classic case of a guy who is listed as a switch hitter. Kevin Bass is hitting .450 as a right-handed batter and under .200 left-handed.
Nobody likes to see the breaking ball break away from you, and that's why you switch hit. But with those numbers, I don't know if that's an idea.
And remember, he was the player whose name was always brought up in conjunction with
Winfield.
The deal with Winfield.
You think, I wonder if George was ever serious about that. I doubt it.
I am too. One hopper to the right side to Sandberg, and that disposes of Ashby. One away. Well, certainly the big story today relating to the San Diego Padres.
Larry Bowa getting fired. I can't make much sense out of his statement. I mean, when he says if somebody like Frank Cashin fires you, you worry, but when people like this fire you, you don't worry.
It is apparently the tip of the so-called iceberg. It is the intrigue in the Croc Palace of San Diego. Because once Chub Feeney came over there, it was kind of standing room only behind the main desk with Jack McKeon.
Right.
Larry Bowa was Jack McKeon's boy. Now Bowa's gone. McKeon goes back down on the field, so he's no longer behind that desk up there with Chub Feeney.
Yeah, but Feeney's been, according to the papers, the mystery guest. Nobody has seen him at the ballpark. I mean, McKeon, I know he was a trench guy. He was always in the minor leagues looking at all the guys. I don't know, maybe they'll do it by computer.
The other interesting thing, although it becomes a very obvious trend, if you plan to fire your manager, you do it always on the road, number one. That keeps you away from the home media, although there are writers traveling with the team, but you don't get quite the heat that you would, let's say, in San Diego. And it doesn't make any difference whether you win or lose. In other words, Chuck Tanner won and was on his way on the road when he was gone, and the same thing now with Bowa. Coming off a 2-0 victory in New York, they let him go the next day.
Well, there was talk about what there was a 40-game deadline that he had to straighten out by 40 games. But I mean, hey, if you're going to fire a guy, you might as well fire him because the camel's got 2 humps. You know.
Cal Ripken worked six games.
Yeah,
Terrific.
That'll tell you something.
3-2. Ground ball to the right side. That ball might have been ball 4. It appeared to be borderline, maybe high. So it could be that Giraldi has gotten 2 outs, but flirting with possible walks.
He's got a good high-riding fastball, and it's one of those fastballs that kind of bends in the middle as the players talk. And it's a ball that you'll see really well, but it'll be out of the strike zone and ends up either the routine fly ball, or if you top it, you get the ground ball like Bass just gave him.
Here's a handy man to have around, Craig Reynolds. He's already played all 4 infield spots this year and started games at third, first, and shortstop. The Astros are very thin, having to use the infielders to start the game without Doran. It really means that the manager, Hal Lanier, is playing with 23 players.
What's that thing? Then they say manager gets paid half for winning, half for worrying, and fired for losing.
Right on the button. 5-0 in favor of the Cubs with 2 out in the second inning. Breaking ball fouled away. Still 1-2. Interesting, when you look at the Astro Ball Club, you go back to 1980. That's a long time ago in baseball. And yet there are 3 pitchers still on the Astro team who were on that club in 80. Nolan Ryan, Dave Smith, and Joaquin Andujar. There's Bill Doran. And that's it. Reynolds caught looking, down he goes. Giraldi picks up his 3rd strikeout at the end of an inning and a half. 5-0 Chicago. Once again, we remind our viewers we'll be selecting the NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game at the conclusion of the ball game. The Cubs sent 9 men to the plate in the first inning. So they start from the top again. Dave Martinez, followed by Rafael Palmeiro, and then Andre Dawson. 4-1. The Cubs doing very well against the Western Division. The Cubs have a record of 17 victories and only 10 losses against the West. Their struggles in the Eastern Division There's a base hit for Martinez, so the hit parade continues.
And I'll tell you, that 5-run lead is not going to stop the Cubs from running. This is a ball club that's certainly on the right track because they are blending speed with whatever power they have. It used to be in Wrigley Field, you'd get power to hit the ball out of the ballpark, but they're blending speed with this team, and they can do a lot of things. Now, Palmeiro doesn't strike out. Obviously a good hitter when you see he's leading the league, so they can do some things with Martinez on at first base. They keep you thinking.
Give you an idea what kind of a day Mike Scott is having. We're only in the second inning, and there are only 2 Cubs without a hit. Rafael Palmeiro and Calvin Schiraldi. Fly ball to right field. It's playable. Kevin Bass is there.
But you know, in this ballpark, having played here, Vin, and then Rick Sutcliffe even mentioned it today. This is the only ballpark he can think of. You give up 5 runs and you're still in the game.
And reminds me as well about Rick Sutcliffe. You know, Sutcliffe was to throw on the sidelines yesterday, and they were even thinking about giving him a start, I think, on Monday. Well, the word is Rick Sutcliffe with a strained rib cage on the left side, and he has been put on the 21-day disabled list, retroactive to the 21st of May. So Sutcliffe's going to be out a while. There goes Martinez. Hit and run, ground ball right through the legs of Pankovic, and Martinez to third. They'll hold him there. So Pankovic, who was breaking to cover, had a double play and instead came up empty, right between his legs.
He couldn't have placed the ball any better than it was hit. He was standing right on the bag. Now, it kind of snakes as Dawson hits it a bit off the end of the bat. Now, watch, he's right on the bag and right through the wicket. I mean, it was just absolute dead perfect. And you can see that Martinez, it's a straight steal, got that head down, and now he sees the ball go through. He doesn't even stop. That was a straight steal play, and Dawson just happened to hit that pitch.
So with 1 out, the Cubs have runners at first and third. An error charge to the second baseman Pankovic. Gev Heathcock is up again in the bullpen. A strike. 0-1. For Scott and the Astros, it's one of those, let's get back on the team bus, go back to the hotel, and start all over again.
Be one of those days, if you took the team picture, there'd be no film in the camera. Everything's gone wrong.
0-1 to count to Ryan Sandberg, who singled the hole at short in the first inning. Popped up on the right side. Going out is Pankovic. Coming in is Bass. It will be Bass. Tagging and holding at third is Martinez.
I tell you, that looked like a routine pop fly, but there was great communication, and you pointed out, because how many times you see guys collide. We've seen it a couple times already this year, and also the edge of Bass. Now, if Pankovic makes that play, he's actually running away from the plate, but Bass runs him off, and he's coming towards, and it's an easier play for him. But, boy, you talk about a play getting screwed up. That one does more than any play.
So with 2 down, Mark Grace, the batter, had a base hit in the first inning and a run batted in. Fouled it away, 0-1. The Cubs are within 1 game of getting to 500. A victory today would do that for them. And they're enjoying a homestand. When the Astros series ends tomorrow, then the Reds will come in for 3, and the Cubs go on a 10-game road trip. And it'll be a tough road trip for the Cubs. The Mets before, then Pittsburgh and St. Louis. And the Astros will gratefully go home, where they've done so well. The Astros have won 16. They've only lost 7 in the great indoors of Houston. 1 ball and 1 strike. Little roller foul, and the count 1-2. Jose Martinez coaching at first, Chuck Cottier at third.
Boy, here's where, if he's got that good split finger fastball going, and obviously has not had it going, you'd want to throw it, because he's looking for strikeout right here.
And Mark Grace, a very impressive young hitter at the plate. A pitch out, an exploratory pitch, with Dawson holding at first, just in case the Cubs had ideas of a delayed double steal. So deuces wild on Mark Grace. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on. And the Cubs leading the Astros 5-0 in the second inning.
That's almost a headline story.
And there goes Dawson. The pitch is low. The throw is late.
The reason I say a headline story. When was the last time that you saw a pitch out against the Cubs, 1 ball and 2 strikes? I mean, in a 5-run lead, it usually was station to station. And Scott has trouble holding people on. You see Ashby's throw not nearly in time.
The Cubs are very much the last place team in stolen bases in the National League. They had only 19 stolen bases all year. Little pop fly back a third down the line. Ramirez and Hatcher fighting the glare to make the catch. Boy, he needed it all, glasses and glove. And we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. About the baseball popularity poll, you can send your name and address on a postcard and pick your most favorite or most popular and least favorite. And Post Office Box 4155, New York, New York. It is, I think, a sad commentary on this country and what has happened lately. And I guess in a sense I'm knocking our own poll. But it is great to pick the most popular, the best, but we are no longer satisfied with that. Now we have to have the least favorite.
See, that's
the
tabloid, right, tabloid mentality.
I really hate that.
I agree with you.
I mean, if you're in high school right now and you're going to vote for the most popular, are you also going to vote for the one most hated, the least popular? It's a shame.
Why least popular? What do they know? I mean, is it because maybe a guy didn't sign an autograph, he was rushing out, or whatever? Why do we need that? I'm voting for Mr. Stats.
There you go. 1 ball and no strikes to Jim Pankovich, followed by Rafael Ramirez and then Mike Scott. 5-0 Chicago, top of the third. Right. The Astros are facing a Mount Everest to climb right now, at least on past performances this year. The Astros are down 5-0. They have not been able to come from behind to win when trailing by more than 2 runs this year. In there, and Schiraldi throwing hard.
That's that high fastball once again. It looks like it's going to be a strike, and it gets out of the strike zone. It's tough to lay off. The high pitch, you see the whole ball. The low pitch, obviously, you only see the top half, so that high fastball always looks so good.
2 balls, 2 strikes. 3-2. Jim Pankovich has started 16 games for the Astros. He had a 5-game hitting streak a little earlier this year. Foul tipped and held, and down he goes. 4 strikeouts for Calvin Schiraldi. He has retired 7 in a row, and Rafael Ramirez with an 8-game hitting streak coming up.
He gets the strikeout. Schiraldi has faced 7 batters, and 3 of them had 3-2 counts. Right here, he had a 3-2 count.
So Ramirez, the shortstop for Houston. They're going to check it first, and a swing, says Ed Montague, and the count no balls and 1 strike.
Boy, that's a tough strike right there.
0-1 to Ramirez. And another. Rafael, anything but a home run hitter. He hit his first home run in a year, the end of April.
That was that check swing, and now he's looking back to see what happened.
That high fastball. 1-2 the count to Rafael Ramirez. 13 RBIs. 5-0 Chicago. We're in the top of the third. 1 out, bases empty. Strikeouts and 3 in a row for Schiraldi.
You just threw that one right down the middle with good stuff on it, and why not? You got a 5-run lead.
So 5-0 Cubs, 2 out in the third. Mike Scott the batter. Mike Scott has struck out just about half of his at-bats this year. So we'll see. Schiraldi has a good opportunity to strike out the side. Like 1. Chicago, when you talk to Jim Fry and Don Zimmer, they make the same point. Calvin Schiraldi will become the pitcher they think he will be after the All-Star break. They think he needs that long to get accustomed to starting. Routine ground ball to the right side, and there is Sandberg. An easy inning. So Schiraldi has faced 9 batters in 3 innings. Perfecto, and it is 5-0 Chicago. Dave LaPointe and John Cerruti were the scheduled starting pitchers. Toronto leading Chicago 2-1, top of the 6th inning. The Giants and Philadelphia, they are scoreless in the top of the 3rd inning. That's supposed to be Dravecky and Carmen. And the Dodgers with Fernando Valenzuela against Neil Heaton, and it's 1-1, top of the 6th inning. Ground ball hit slowly to shortstop, and Ramirez is there to take care of Jody Davis. 1 away.
That ball doesn't start off the bat slowly, but you're absolutely right. By the time it gets there, you can just see it running out of gas.
So 1 away in the 3rd inning, and Vance Law coming up. Law single to right to drive in a run in the 1st inning. In that 1st inning, if you weren't with us, Martinez and Palmeiro made out, and then the Cubs went on a tear. They had 6 consecutive hits. The payoff, a 2-run triple by Sean Dunston, and that rocked Mike Scott to his heels, and it's 5-0 Chicago.
Vance Law has really been a valuable addition to this ball club.
And you don't think about it, but he was tied with Dawson for RBIs, and when he got the base hit to drive in a run, he actually went ahead for the club lead. 26 runs batted in. And he's had a lot of clutch RBIs after the 5th, 6th, and 7th inning. 1-2.
He's one of those players you just give him a locker, give him a uniform, point him to the field, and that's it. Your worries are over.
Like his father.
That's right.
He had a 16-game hitting streak earlier this year. Chopper to the hole, backhanded by Ramirez, off balance throw, got him. Oh, what a fine play by Rafael Ramirez. With that, let's take a quick trip to New York for an update, and here's Jimmy Cepolo.
Vinny Joe, an update on that Giants-Phillies game at the vet in Philadelphia. Dave Dravecky, making his first start since coming off the disabled list, is roughed up by Juan Samuel. Luis Aguayo comes around to score. It's the Phillies over the Giants, 1-0 now in the top of the 4th inning. Then
Cubs leading the Astros 5-0 with 2 out in the 3rd. Sean Dunston at the plate. A little late on a fastball, 0-1.
That play by Ramirez is just a major league play. When you're running away from the base you have to throw to, now he really is kind of setting himself as he's taking that step, not looking at the bag, but he has a good feel for where it is, and he threw it in the vicinity and threw a strike.
Dunston badly fooled lunging for that pitch, and the count 0-2 to Sean. He hit that long fly ball to center. And I feel that Gerald Young either lost in the shirt sleeve or in the glare, never did get a jump. Went for the triple. Now he fists one into right field. He's going to go for 2. Kevin Bass into Ramirez to get him. So Dunston is single to right, and he's cut down 9-6. Right now, here's a look back at a very special Olympic moment. Chicago Cub first inning uprising is the story thus far. 5-0. Everything going the Cubbies' way.
It is. The last play, though, Ben, is one of those airs of enthusiasm that they used to talk about because Dunston was really an easy out.
And baseball players, always, especially the managers, they like to, if nothing else, get the pitcher out of the way. So when Dunston gets a base hit, you say, fine, we'll get Schiraldi up there and start the next inning clean. When Sean gambles and loses, that means Schiraldi starts off the 4th inning.
And he saw the play, it was in front of him, but I guess I have to go back to what Zimmer said. He said when Dunston first came up, he was like a young colt with wobbly legs, so he's going to make some mistakes, and that was one of them.
And it's the oldest expression in gambling, but it certainly holds up. With 5 runs in the 1st inning, the Cubs are playing with house money anyway.
That they are.
Let's see if the Astros can catch up or not. We'll go to the 4th inning. Inning, 5-0 in favor of Chicago, and Gerald Young will start it off, then Billy Hatcher. Then they get down to Glenn Davis and Al Ashby. Young struck out in the 1st inning, so Gerald 0 for 1. breaking ball strike, 0-1. So Schulderaldi, who has already shown a very good fastball, now second time around starting to hit us off with a curve. 0-1.
Then he's had 11 called strikes. So he really not only looks like he's overpowering, but confusing the hitters. They're not getting that many swings.
1-1 to count. Another breaking ball for a strike. And the count 1-2. To repeat, Schiraldi is coming off an injury. On the 12th of May, Carmelo Martinez lined a ball off the inside of his left knee. Hasn't pitched since, but he looks particularly sharp. 2-2.
Remember the heat that Jim Fry and Zimmer got when they made the trade. It was Schiraldi and Nipper for Lee Smith, and Lee Smith really got off to that great start, and they were wondering what kind of a deal that was, but it's starting to look pretty good for these Cubs.
And that's it down the left field line in the corner. In there for a base hit. Chasing it is Rafael Palmeiro. Into second base easily goes Gerald Young. So that breaks a string of 9 consecutive outs as Young doubles into the left field corner.
And once again, the ball almost gets by the outfielder, but the grass really helps him after it hits off the wall. Now, there's not a whole lot of foul territory there. Now, it's slowing down right now, and Palmeiro, you can see, almost overruns the ball, but that grass, a big, big help.
Billy Hatcher hitting well over 300. He grounded out in the first inning. 0-1. Interesting for Hatcher. Last year, he got off to a home run tear. And you remember the cork bat suspension since last September the 1st. He's had just 1 home run since. 1 ball, 1 strike.
He was the player of the week last week, so he's been kind of a little bit on the tear.
1 home run, 15 RBIs, trying to pick up Gerald Young. It is 5-0 Chicago. We're in the top of the 4th inning. Busted bad, and it's flagged by Grace on his knees in the dirt to Dunston. Not in time. Wonderful play by Mark Grace, and of course they will dust it off again. Amazing Grace at first base.
And that was a good play by Dunston at shortstop because Grace makes the play. Bat breaks, distracting. Now the diving catch, he looks and he sees he's got a chance for the runner. Now he throws it, but it's a bad throw, and Dunston really makes a good play coming up with it. You can see that his concentration was to catch that ball, but Hatcher really breaks that bat in half. That's the way it was when the cork came flying out.
And the batter now, Glenn Davis, in the count 0-1. Glenn Davis struck out in the first inning. He's 0 for 1. Davis is the spark plug, the home run hitter and the RBI man, but it has been turned off of late. Another reason why the Astros are struggling. Ground ball to third, speared there by Vance Law. 2 down.
Ben, that last hop that Vance Law came up with was the same type hop that cost the Cubs a ball game. In the game Jamie Moyer was pitching, he had a shutout going, a ground ball towards Sandberg, but it hit the lip. But instead of going high to where Sandberg could handle it, it went over his head. This one hit the lip, but Law was able to handle it. There's what I'm talking about, that lip. It's very high there. I walked out before the game, and you can see if it hits there, it just goes straight up. Now, this didn't get by. It just came up where it was a nice play for Law, but it cost him a game against the Cardinals.
So Alan Ashby now with 2 down, and Young still at second base. Big, slow jug in there for a strike. 0-1. Ashby grounded out to the right side to Ryan Sandberg. One ball, 1 strike. Still 5-0 Chicago, top of the 4th inning. For the Astros, they have lost their last 4 consecutive series. And they lost yesterday, so if they lose today would mean they've lost 5 series in a row, and that really hurts a ball club. They were swept by San Diego. They lost 2 out of 3 to Montreal, 2 out of 3 to New York, 2 out of 3 to Pittsburgh. So they're hurting.
We got Ashby on a high fastball last time. Let's see what happens.
Breaking ball hit to dead center, and Dave Martinez waited and misjudged it. So there's a problem out there. He had no idea about that ball. He just stood there like a statue, and that's what happened to Gerald Young.
Talked about it early in the game. In fact, before it started, it's a high sky. You're not getting any help from the clouds at all out there. It's tough to pick up. That ball's certainly catchable. He thinks he's got it right there, and then whoops, it's over his head.
The scales have not balanced, however, because Dunstan's ball was good for 2 runs. This one is good for 1. And the batter now, Kevin Bass, who grounded out in the 2nd inning. If you were the center field camera, you might have an idea of some of the problems looking in to the double-deck shirt sleeve crowd, plus that brilliant sky overhead. 0-1.
Just watching the center field camera, Ben, you can see the ball coming off. I just wonder, you know, if it is that sky, because the background is not that bad. It really isn't as you watch it.
So we've seen 2 Major League center fielders just frozen on a ball.
Right.
1-1 to Kevin Bass. Bass is really struggling. Average down to 280 now. Kevin sat down for a little while. All home runs as a right-handed batter. Most of his RBIs hitting right-handed. Hit foul off third, out of play, and the count 1-2. The talk of Chicago certainly would have to be the youngster by the name of Greg Maddux, who is 8-3 and an earned run average of 2. Boy, does he have the fans buzzing, and rightfully so. Outstanding pitcher. Fouled away.
Thought you were going to talk about the talk of Chicago. Is it the White Sox? Are they going to stay, or are they going to Florida? Today, another big story in the paper. You really, as we were here last week, and you read one story, and now they're saying there's not enough room on the west side. That's for the Bears, and they're not going to go to Florida. They are going to go to Florida. It is really something.
1-2 the count to Kevin Bass. And that's going to be hit up the middle, and a great sprawling stop by Dunston to prevent the run from scoring. It's still a base hit, but Ashby had to stop at third. Big play by the shortstop.
And the big difference in Dunston this year is last year he would have come up throwing, trying to get the man at first, and throwing off balance, a chance for an error. He knew that Bass was going to beat it out, and he is just satisfied to make that diving stop and catch. And he looks, sees he hasn't got a play, and now he's going to watch third base. That is called maturity.
And the key play in the inning now is that diving catch by Mark Grace at first base. If that thing goes down the line, the Astros have a chance to be right back in the ballgame. As it is, Cubs 5, Astros 1. And Craig Reynolds, who struck out in the 2nd inning, coming up with 2 out and runners at first and third. Bass at first, Ashby at third. Bass bluffs. 0-1. Bass, the runner at first base, is 9 for 9 in stolen bases.
You know, Ben, I did a little research this week, and I got a line of Jim Murray, who, you know, is your favorite, mine, great writer, when he writes about Wrigley Field. It is so true. I'm going to try to wait after a foul ball.
0-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. Reynolds trying to keep it alive. Jim Pankovitz on deck. One run in here in the 4th. 5-1 Chicago. And there goes Bass. The pitch outside. Jody Sproul is on the other side of the bag, but it was also giving Sean Dunston a good shot to throw back to the plate if Ashby had any idea of coming. And, of course, to see Alan Ashby run would be quite a surprise.
Well, that's why I was a bit surprised that Jody Davis took that look at third. Now, watch Jody Davis's head. He'll stop the runner. He looks at third base right there, and then he throws and kind of sails on him to the first base side. No play, but Dunston able to watch Ashby at third base all the way.
10 for 10 is Kevin Bass. Now Reynolds just trying to banjo the ball anywhere. He has a possible 2 RBIs out there. And he hits it to left, sinking, but it's going to be grabbed by Rafael Palmeiro. So the line drive by Reynolds is an out. 1 run, 3 hits, and 2 left at the end of 3 1/2. 5-1 Chicago.
Ben, if that ball drops in, we got a 5-3 ball game, and it just brings home that point I was talking about Jim Murray's description of Wrigley Field. He says going to Wrigley Field is like going to the opera. It's loud, crowded, confusing, emotional, and everybody dies in the third act.
Calvin Schiraldi takes outside, ball 1, 1-0. Schiraldi followed by Martinez and then Palmeiro. Wrigley Field, Chicago. A joy to be here. 1-1 to count.
Schiraldi's taking a swing like a pull hitter, but they're playing him towards the right field line. Young is in right center.
As a comebacker, speared nicely by Mike Scott. So the Astros take care of a guy who was born in Houston, Calvin Schiraldi. This telecast, presented by authority of Major League Baseball, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Dave Martinez consuming a little time to allow his pitcher, Schiraldi, to get back into the dugout.
Well, he's been wanting to drop the bunt for the base hit. Maybe this is the time.
Martinez has faked once, struck out in the first inning, single to left in the second. Cubs scored 5 times in the first inning with 2 outs. They had 6 consecutive hits. A misjudged fly ball for a triple, chasing in the last 2. And the Astros came back for 1 in the 4th inning. So here's Martinez with Palmeiro on deck. Martinez last year had a very solid year. The one team that really shut him down, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Otherwise, he was a .300 hitter against everybody else in the league and wound up batting .292. Little foul ball off third, down the line. A couple of Astros in pursuit, but it's out of play. And the count 2-1. The slogan here in Chicago, the Cubs, getting young gracefully. And, of course, when you look at the Cubs, you realize they have some fine young ball players with Mark Grace, Sean Dunston, certainly. And they've been adding young outfielders, Palmeiro, Martinez. And this ball club, should it win today, will be at the 500 mark. There's the leader, Andre Dawson. 2 balls and 1 strike. Shot foul. 2-2.
You know, the last time we did a game here, I had to stay to do a television show late, and I was in the clubhouse killing time. Everybody had gone. Dawson was in the weight room working out. It must have been a good 3 hours after the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why he was the most valuable player last year. And not all God-given ability. Hard work. 3-2.
And I want to tell you something. He walked out of that weight room in those shorts. He's got a 30-inch waist. It looks like he had a washboard for a chest. I never saw so many solid ripples in my life. He is really, really put together.
6'3", 195. Strike 3 called to Dave Martinez. That's the 3rd strikeout for Mike Scott, who will take outs any way he can get him now, down 5-1. And Rafael Palmeiro coming up.
Here's that last pitch. He's been pitching him low and inside. He shoots for that target. She comes back over the inside corner, says Lee Wire, although Martinez wasn't too sure of it.
And in the heat, they have to take care, especially of the pitchers. They might also take care of Mike Scott because he's due up 3rd in the 5th inning. And they are throwing back of him again. Jeff Heathcock is up in the pen. And this would be the earliest departure of Mike Scott if they do lift him in the 5th inning. 1-1. The numbers for Rafael Palmeiro. Another solid young ball player trying to lead the Cubs. It's interesting, and it shows you what happens in baseball. In 1984, the 2 contending teams were the Cubs in San Diego, and San Diego went into the World Series. The Cubs have never come back to that 84 performance, and San Diego has been in an upheaval. 2 balls and 2 strikes to count to Rafael Palmeiro.
It looked like a fastball about belt high. When you talk about, you hear people say, well, he turned on that ball and really got out in front of it. And that was a classic swing to turn on it and get out in front of it. He hit it out of the ballpark.
And the batter now, Andre Dawson. One thing about Mike Scott, he has allowed 5 home runs. 3 of them occurred in the first 13 innings of the year. He's allowed only 2 in his last 69 innings. And of the home runs he has allowed, only 1 of the 5 with anybody on base. Darryl Strawberry hit a 2-run home run against him. Everybody else, solo home run. 6-1 Chicago in the 4th inning. Chase that one. And he wants the plate umpire to look at it.
He wants to look at that ball. That did some funny things for him. I don't imagine he's doing much of anything because he's trailing by 5. It's that wide grip split finger out of the strike zone. Andre just chased a bad ball. That wasn't even a strike.
Every Cub in the starting lineup with a base hit. Only Schiraldi is on the outside of the candy store looking in. 1-2. 2-2.
You know, the first time at bat, Dawson, his back foot was flat. I mean, it was on the ground. Now he's up on his toe, and he does that so he can keep his weight back.
Just off the corner. Boy, you talk about the high rent district, you're looking at it. A Cy Young pitcher and the most valuable player at the plate. 3-2. Ground ball to the left is short. Nice play there by Ramirez to take care of him. However, 1 run, 1 hit, the home run by Rafael Palmeiro. It is 6-1 Chicago at the end of 4. And we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. Great place to be tomorrow right here at NBC. Big day for sports. The French Open, among others, John McEnroe and Super Teen Andre Agassi, the leading hopes to be the first Americans to capture the illustrious Grand Slam. Then later on, ringside, 12th round, Jesse Benavidez and James Pitts. That's all tomorrow. Plus, NBC Sports World, Frank Tate in a middleweight battle against Sandeline Williams. Right here on NBC Sports. It is 6-1 in favor of Chicago in the 5th inning. Ball 1 to Jim Pankovich. With Ramirez to follow and then Mike Scott in the bullpen busy, the chances are that Mike Scott will have called it a day. In the dirt. Do you have left-hand hitters in the bench yet, Joe?
I should have asked the truck, but is that the fight that Don Dunphy's going to be doing? He's got a fight coming up. We haven't heard him for a while. Remember him?
Oh, wow, and how. 2 balls and no strikes to Jim Pankovich. Fisted foul out of play. If you're looking at the Astro lineup, the left-hand hitters available for Hal Lanier are Denny Walling and Terry Poole, along with the switch-hitting Bill Doran. And they have right-hand hitters Trevino. They won't use him. Then Chuck Jackson and Steve Henderson. Foul ball out of play. They're not going to burn up a backup catcher early in the game. So we'll see. Calvin Schiraldi, growing in stature as a starting pitcher. Schiraldi came in 2-2 with an earned run average of about 4.5. Calvin born in Houston and trying to nail the Astros. Fouled away again. Schiraldi went to the University of Texas, so it has a definite Texas flavor today. He was on that team that featured, among others, Roger Clemens. That's hit to straightaway center, and Martinez going back on it, but he had to jump. He saw that one all the way. So Pankovich long out to center, 1 down.
He's checking that sky, as you see. He's got it in his sights right here, but I tell you, even that, he caught it over his head. I mean, that's not really the way you catch the ball. We're not looking at Rembrandt's, we're looking at outs, and he may be out, but you like to see a guy kind of catch it no higher than chest high, letter high.
One down, and Rafael Ramirez, the batter, and that's the problem.
Right there. There it was, that high score.
Angel up there. Strike to Ramirez, who struck out in the third inning. Bill Doran is on deck to bat for Mike Scott. On his 30th birthday, Bill Doran still sidelined, but he is able to pinch hit.
You know, sometimes between innings, a pitcher will tell you what was on his mind and was working on. I was watching Schiraldi warm up. His warm-up pitches, he only threw 2 fastballs. All of them were warming up with breaking balls. That's kind of unusual.
Sure is. 1 ball, 1 strike. Little breaking ball that wrinkled outside. Ball 2. 2-1. So today it means that this will be the shortest stint for Mike Scott this year. Fouled away. Prior to this, Mike had worked 5 1/3 innings and was chased against Montreal, and it was at Montreal. Today, he goes 4 innings. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fouled away again. Schiraldi was on a strikeout tear earlier. He had 5 strikeouts with 2 out in the 3rd inning. Last time we saw him pitch, he pitched hard against the Dodgers. He struck out 7 in 5 innings, but he couldn't get anybody out in the 6th. And that's part of his problem, trying to learn that as a starting pitcher, he's got some innings to pitch. Off speed to strike out Ramirez a 2nd time, and it gives him 6 strikeouts.
But, Vin, you know, with this age of specialization now, I mean, the complete game has gone the way of dirt. I mean, it's obsolete. These guys now, you give me 6 innings, and boom, that's it. That's enough. I'll bring in my holder, and then I'll bring in my closer.
Setup man and my...
Yeah. It sounds like a polo team when you name these guys. Holders, setup man, closers.
Here's Bill Doran. Doran, a switch hitter, and has had much better numbers as a right-handed batter. Hitting .248 overall. Hitting only .213 from this side of the plate. Been a tough year for Doran so far. It must feel like a year with a bad shoulder and a bad hamstring. And he doesn't figure to start tomorrow either. At best, they're looking for maybe Monday. And he hits it inside first, and on that bad wheel, he's going to have to run, and he thinks better of it. The crowd roaring about Andre Dawson, but there's no way Bill Doran would even think about going for 2, not on that bad leg. All you have to do is pull that hamstring again, he'd be out the rest of the year.
You could see him going down first base, and he was thinking, well, I don't think so. If it gets by Dawson, then maybe I'll go for 2. But he's not digging hard. You can see it right there. Now he sees Dawson come up with it, and he makes the turn, but he's slowing down right here already.
It's an interesting and it's a dilemma at the same time for the Astros. You have a player like Bill Doran. You don't put him on the 15-day disabled list. You use him a couple of times as a pinch hitter. He's already going to miss 15 days. But what it really means is they're playing 1 man short. That's tough. Fly ball to left field. Palmeiro is there to make the play. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. And at the end of 4 1/2, the Cubs 6 and the Astros 1. We go to the bottom of the 5th inning here at Wrigley Field, Chicago, and Jeff Heathcock, a right-hander out of Southern California, 28 years old, from Garden Grove. And Heathcock, used sparingly. He's only been in 5 games since being called up. 0-2 record. He'll be pitching to Ryan Sandberg, Mark Grace, and then Jody Davis. Sandberg singled to the hole at short and flied to right. 0-1. Cubs with 5 in the 1st inning. Freezing now, 6-1 here in the 5th. Cubs had a home run by Rafael Palmeiro in the 4th with nobody on. A fly ball triple by Dunston and then 2 additional runs in the 1st inning. So the earliest departure for Mike Scott this year. Fouled away. No balls and 2 strikes. Two and 2 to Ryan. Tomorrow, it'll be Jamie Moyer and Nolan Ryan, the concluding game of the series. Fly ball to center. Gerald Young with the shades down. 1 away.
You mentioned Jamie Moyer. Future father-in-law Digger Phelps was in the ballpark today. He's here watching the game. Digger says he looked at the invitation. Jamie Moyer and Digger's daughter are going to get married in October. He said, I looked at that list. We're going to have the stadium. I think we're going to outdraw the Notre Dame Navy game. He's in the truck, I understand.
Here's Mark Gray. Single to right and fly to left. Ball 1, 1-0. Cubs with 5 in the first, each side scoring a run in the fourth, and we're now in the bottom of the 5th. Off speed, good straight change for a strike, and the count 1-1. To repeat, information particularly important to the Cubs, Rick Sutcliffe has been put on a 21-day disabled list. It is retroactive, the 21-day, retroactive to the 21st. But it still means he will not be able to come back. Zimmer was saying he thought he might pitch Monday, but no chance. Fouled away.
I like when Zimmer's talking about his pitching. He said, hey, if I get in a jackpot, I'll just use Sundberg to give me a tough 4 innings. He used Sundberg in the exhibition game. And what, Steve Lyons, too.
Steve Lyons for the White Sox. The Cubs will host Cincinnati on Monday. Ground ball to the right side. That'll be the second out. The Astros will be in, oh no, they'll be home with St. Louis. 2 down here in the 5th, and Jody Davis coming up. Jody, his name certainly in conversations now as possible trade bait now that Damon Berryhill is here.
I was waiting for that. I got one for you, Vin. We got to get a foul ball. It's just going to go to Scully, Hall of Fame, right along. Dead men tell no tales. I got one.
That's a strike.
I can't rush into it, though. It's right alongside the Deadman, and Joe Torre is chicken catcher Torre.
Well, you know the other one, the one that I loved, and of course Hookie Rojas is now the manager of the Angels. But when he was playing with Philadelphia, there was a pop fly behind second base, and he and the shortstop almost collided. And I said I wouldn't want them to be hurt, but had they collided, I could have said the days of Wine and Rojas.
Okay, all right. Okay. Well, this one, Steve Stone is the one who said it. I got to wait for a foul ball.
Ball 2, 2-1.
Come on, hit a foul ball, Jody. You just can't throw this one away.
Bobby Wine now back in uniform. Jody Davis single to center, grounded to short. He's 1 for 2. In there. When the Astros bat to look ahead in the 6th, they'll have Billy Hatcher, Glenn Davis, and Alan Ashby. Just missed. So a full count of Jody Davis with Vance Law on deck. Standing room only crowd, they tell us, here at Wrigley Field. Sellout for sure. On a magnificent day with a light breeze blowing out. Curveball whacked into left field. Base hit for Davis. Jody is 2 for 3.
Okay. All right. Now, Damon Berryhill, right? Mm-hmm. Steve Stone, who broadcast for the Cubs with Harry Carey, said, if the Cubs would ever send down Damon Berryhill, he would be a blue Berryhill.
Oh.
That goes right alongside, huh?
I don't know if I'll admit it.
Oh, come on. It's got to go in the Scully Hall of Fame. A blue Berryhill, right next to days of Wine and Rojas.
Vance Law single to right and grounded to short. He's 1 for 2. Oh, it might have been trying to take a shot at right field, the way that one hand came off the bat. 0-1.
Davis is not really holding Jody on, a little bit off the bag, but he's still got a pretty good gap between first and second.
Jody Davis 0 for 2 in stolen bases. He is not much of a risk to go. Little nubber back to the box. So Heathcock does his job. No runs. One hit, a man left, and at the end of 5, it remains the Cubs 6, the Astros 1. Hatcher, Davis, and Ashby duo. The game of the week is brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors, who invites you to come see the full line of cars and trucks. Mitsubishi, suddenly the obvious choice.
Vin Schiraldi in 5 innings has made 83 pitches, 57 of them strikes, 26 balls. Interesting that 15 of the strikes were called. So he has been overpowering, but he's doing something that they've just not been able to catch up to.
The one thing he did was break Billy Hatcher's bat in the 4th inning, you remember, and that was the diving catch by Mark Grace, a key play in that 4th. Hatcher has grounded out as well, so he is 0 for 2. And that got him. So Hatcher hit by the pitch and awarded first. We can duck in a couple of scores. The White Sox leading Toronto 3-2, top of the 9th inning. The Giants leading Philadelphia 3-1, top of the 6th. The Dodgers atop Montreal 2-1 in the 8th inning.
Slow curveball is what gets Hatcher. He just starts it way inside, and that's it. You're going to get hit. That's the pitch you get hit with.
Glenn Davis up there now. And the fastball missing. Davis has struck out and grounded to third. 3 years in a row now, Glenn Davis has hit 20 home runs, and he got off to a great start this year. He has 9.
You can't take for granted that Hatcher's going to stay there, because Lanier, he doesn't care what the score is. He will run, and you throw his man out, he'll run the next guy. He's going to have to do things, and as you heard when we talked to him before the game, try to shake him up a little bit and make things happen.
Very close. They had him because Hatcher had a big lead, and he just did get back. So Davis with Ashby to follow.
Diving back. When they got you diving back, you got a good lead.
And there he goes. And there was a full swing and a foul ball at the plate.
He doesn't, I was going to say, Ben, he don't like to play hit and run. He just starts those guys. In fact, Matt Galante's on at first base. I said, Matt, you got to sign with these guys? He said, yeah. When they get here, I said, if you get a jump, go.
And he had gotten a jump. I think he would have had that base stolen.
I agree. Talking to Davis before the game about hitting, and I said, you know, do you think about pitchers you're going to face? And he says, I don't like to think about them too far away from the game. You just overthink things.
1 ball and 1 strike. Glenn Davis trying to think one over the wall and get Houston back in the game. Ball 2.
He gives Pete Rose a lot of credit. He says he's always thinking fastball, because he said you can slow down your brain, but you can't speed it up. You can't be thinking curveball and try to hit the fastball, but it will work the other way.
Glenn Davis hitting in the number 3 slot. Apparently the Astros have decided that Davis is not a cleanup hitter. You remember last year, Glenn Davis was the Astro cleanup hitter in most of the games, almost all of the games before the All-Star break. Then after the All-Star break, he was a cleanup hitter maybe a third of the time. And Ashby is hitting cleanup today. And there goes Hatcher. Swung on and fouled at the plate.
Schiraldi had an idea that Hatcher would be going. He's going to stay there because he doesn't know if it's a foul tip. He wants an umpire to tell him, and McSherry is asking about it. Now they're sending him back. Schiraldi held that ball a little bit longer than normal. Now Hatcher starts back to first base, but then he asked McSherry, and McSherry got a verification from Lee Wire, which was good thinking, because if he starts back, they're going to tag him out, obviously.
Hatcher is the number 2 man in stolen bases for the Astros. He has 14. Gerald Young, the leader, with 26. And Hatcher could easily have had his 15th, but each time Davis has fouled the pitch off. 2-2 the count. And he's going again. And the curve is missed. The throw is late. So he steals it 3 strikes later.
Tough pitch for Jody Davis. It was a breaking ball, and Davis completely fooled. That bat flies out to the mound. Watch Davis. He reaches over, and he's really not in position. Once he catches it, he's got to set himself. Just can't get enough on it, and it's not even close.
So Hatcher steals his 15th. The Astros, a running ball club. They've stolen 72 bases, and they are well on the way to establish a club record.
And they'll run off second base. You can't take for granted they're going to stay there.
1 out, Ashby at the plate. Out of the way. Allen grounded out and then doubled over the head of Dave Martinez. He had trouble with the sun. Cubs 6, Astros 1. We're in the top of the 6th inning.
Dunston's trying to get the attention of his bench. He wants to get a little bit of help where they want him to play as he's waving.
0-1.
He's still looking for some help. See, he's looking for some help. Straight away, Zimmer says. That's okay. Don't worry about him too much. Right there. Dunston is Zimmer's pet project. He told his coaches in spring training, just lay off him. I thought he was over-instructed last year.
2 balls and 1 strike. Yodi going to have a few words with Calvin Schiraldi, who has struck out 7. He has hit a batter, but he has not walked anybody. And he has allowed just 1 run.
He's showing some signs here, though, man. This inning. The hit batsman, a lot of breaking balls, taking a little bit more time between pitches.
Again, he is not yet, according to the Cubs, not yet a starting pitcher. When you look at his work this year, his longest game, 7 innings, and he had 13 runs in that game. 7 innings against San Diego. So he's never pitched a complete game in 14 starts. So they'll be watching his every move. 3-1. Last game he went 6. And might have pitched longer, but Zimmer saw him hit by Martinez and had to take him out. So they're on the phone to the bullpen. 3-1 to count. So a full count to Alan Ashby.
I was watching Zimmer, Ben. That was Dick Pohl. Zimmer called Pohl over to him. He whipped out his sheet, and then he sent him to the telephone, and you see they're getting heated up in the bullpen.
Zimmer trying to get his ball club to the 500 mark, and they're almost there. Win today would do it. High fly ball into left center field. Going back is Palmeiro and Martinez. It is gone, and just like that, the Astros are back in the ball game against an obviously struggling Calvin Schiraldi.
He was definitely showing signs, and now Zimmer is going to wait until his guy is heated up, and he'll make a quick hook, I'll guarantee you. That means he's going out now or letting him pitch the Bass, because Dick Pohl is coming out, maybe trying to buy some time. They threw the ball back as the bleacher bums do. When the opposing team hits a home run, they throw it back.
One thing for the Cubs starting pitchers, they have averaged better than 7 innings a start. So the bullpen has been very, very effective because it's well rested. In fact, the bullpen in the last month has an earned run average of 2. That's another strength for the Cubs.
And then while we got a chance here, as we see the home run hit by Ashby, did get verification from our Cracker Jack crew in the truck, and Don Dunphy will be doing the first fight tomorrow, and Marv Albert will do the second fight. So you fight fans, if you remember Don Dunphy doing those fights, it'll be not only a good fight to watch, but nostalgia time as he does the first fight tomorrow. That's good.
Alan Ashby in the cleanup spot, doubled in a run in the 4th inning, hits a 2-run home run in the 6th. Last year, after the All-Star break, the only cleanup hitter who was in a winning lineup more times than anybody else for Houston was Alan Ashby. Here now is Kevin Bass, hard ground ball to Dunston. 2 down.
Boy, that's something he didn't do last year. You can see him counting. It's a 3 count that he goes by. We talked about it the last time. Catch the ball 1, set yourself 2, and then throw. He gets that ground ball. You see him pat it into the glove to make sure he just doesn't grab it and fire it.
So 2 down in the 6th inning. 6-3 in favor of Chicago. Craig Reynolds has struck out and lined out to left. The incredible Joaquin Mann Andujar is down in the Houston bullpen. Mike Capel throwing in the Chicago pen. And Schiraldi due up second when the Cubs hit in the bottom of the 6th. The home run by Alan Ashby, his 6th of the year. For Schiraldi, it's the 7th home run he's allowed. There's a shot into right field, base hit. Reynolds had a big at-bat in the 4th inning. He came up with runners at 2nd and 3rd, and he lined out to left, and apparently Zimmer's had enough.
He was showing signs, and he's going to make the hook here. He's going as far as he can. He can protect the victory for him, and that's what he wants to do because he did give him 5 tough innings.
So Mike Capel will be coming in from the bullpen. Jim Pankovich is due up. It's 6-3 Chicago. Calvin Schiraldi going out in a spot where he can only win or have nothing to do with it, leading by 3 with 1 man his responsibility on base.
Interesting, the man he sits next to, the Goose. And they start talking about what happened, what went on.
Mike Capel, first thing, driving Reynolds back. How about this for a long shot? You and your buddy are in college, and you both want to be ball players, and you play ball in college. And you're both pitchers. And you say, boy, I'd give anything to get to the big leagues. So would I. Then one guy said, wouldn't it be something if I ever started a big league ball game and you relieved me? Oh, that'd be impossible. It's happening right now. Calvin Schiraldi and Mike Capel were teammates at the University of Texas. Calvin comes out, and his college buddy comes in to try and save it for him.
Remember that movie Robert De Niro played the part of the first pitcher?
Al Pacino. Yes, I saw it. I love the music. 1 ball and 1 strike to count to Mike Capel. I had one of those happen, though, seriously, in college.
That is something when you stop to think about it.
It's a long shot.
It is. What's the one you had?
1 ball and 1 strike to count to Jim Pankovich. That's low. Ball 2, 2-1. I was in high school with a terrific athlete, and he wanted to be a big league ball player. And I said, well, I'd love to announce in the big league someday myself. Well, wouldn't it be great if you played in a game and I announced the game? Yeah. Could you imagine if you hit a home run and I announced your home run?
Let us guess it.
No, it really happened.
I know.
Inside, ball 3.
But don't just tell us.
Oh, well, nobody would remember except the people in Houston. There's a guy in Houston who'd remember.
Give us a hint. What team?
He played with the Cardinals and the Giants, and his name was Larry Miggins. But I don't want to give you any more hint than that.
Okay. That's like Name the Dog in the movie Rin Tin Tin.
3-1 to count to Pankovich. Ball 4. But I tell you what, when he hit the home run, and I'm describing the home run, I could have cried. It was so dramatic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fordham, huh?
Yeah. But the home run was at Ebbets Field.
Larry Miggins. Left fielder, big right-hand hitter.
So Calvin Schiraldi thinking about anything but his college days right now, and his buddy Mike Capel trying to save it for him. But actually, considering the fact that he had just come back, remember, he was coming off an injury. He hadn't pitched since the 12th of May, and he drew the hottest day of the year in Chicago. Had figured he'd run out of gas. Now here's Rafael Ramirez. On deck is Terry Poole to bat for Jeb Heathcock. So the veteran left-hand hitter Terry Poole on deck.
Say what you want. The tying run is at the plate.
Ramirez has 1 home run in a year, and he has struck out twice today, but those trips were against Schiraldi. 2-0. And Zimmer said, wait a minute. I didn't bring you in to walk the house. Capel comes in and walks Pankovich. Now he's behind Ramirez. And Frank DePino, the left-hander, who at one time was with Houston, begins to loosen up in the Chicago bullpen.
2 balls and no strikes. That makes Ramirez a much tougher hitter, and now he's going to talk to his third base coach, Minky, and it's very simple. Hey, you got the green light. If you get one that you like, hit it. And everybody becomes a home run threat, and Giraldi, who leaves the game, is now he's going to go in the clubhouse and watch it on TV or whatever. He's not going to watch it from here.
Well, Calvin, who was born in Houston, trying to beat the Astros and still might, relieved by Mike Keble, who was born in Marshall, Texas. 2 balls and no strikes. The count to Rafael Ramirez. Reynolds at second, Pankovich at first with 2 out. 2 runs in. 3-0. And Terry Poole waiting on deck. Walked him, and the bases are loaded.
No way.
The Astros get a really good look at the game.
No way he'll pitch to Poole.
Terry Poole is not the same hitter as the years take their toll, but nevertheless, he is a threat and a veteran. And here comes Zimmer, and that will be off of Mike Capel. He has the left-handed DePino down there to go head-to-head with Poole, if that's exactly what Hal Lanier wants to do. Lanier, right-hand batters. He has Trevino, Jackson, and Henderson. He's already used Bill Doran as switch hitters. So Capel goes out, and Poole is back in the dugout, and they're going to go for another hitter. Left-hander Frank DePino has inherited quite a burden, but it should be pointed out, he has inherited this year 11 runners and not allowed any of those 11 to score. Though with 2 down and the bases loaded, he will pitch to a former Cub, Steve Henderson, who will bat for Terry Poole. Henderson played for the Cubs in '81 and '82. Steve has been around, 35 years old. First came up with the Mets in '77. And after playing with the Mets and Cubs, he went over to the American League, where he played at Seattle and Oakland. So Steve Henderson batting by Terry Poole with the bases loaded. 6-3 in favor of the Cubs. Well, the Astros with their first look at the game. Remember, the Cubs scored 5 in the first inning. Reynolds, Pankovich, and Ramirez on the line. Ball 1. In the inning, Billy Hatcher hit by a pitch and stole second as Glenn Davis struck out. Ashby homered to left. And after Bass made out, Reynolds singled and walks by Pankovich and Ramirez. Ball 2, 2-0. Now Don Zimmer making the move, the calculated move, relieving Giraldi first with Capel and now with DePino, and he's having trouble getting strikes.
It was quite a play by Jody Davis. He played that like a first baseman. Usually you try to scoop it towards the infield. He just backhanded it.
2-0 to Steve Henderson. Boy, they gave him the sign to rip, and rip he tried. Henderson is another fellow who was born in Houston. In his years with the Cubs, he had 7 home runs. The Astros have 1 grand slam, and it was by Kevin Bass as a pinch hitter early in April against Cincinnati.
Lee Wire just walked up and made a line with his foot because the white chalk line has been marked out. Henderson deep in the batter's box, and Lee just walked up there and pointed out where the back line was.
2-1. All 3-1 to Henderson.
You think he took a rip on 2-0?
This one's he's gonna swing from Houston.
The expression goes, going to be like the window shade flying open.
So Henderson looking for a pitch he can drive with the count his way. And Reynolds, Pankovich, and Ramirez at the ready. Mike Capel sweating in the dugout, and there is a strike on the corner.
Oh, Henderson didn't think that was a strike at all. The pitch was outside, and he said, yeah, pretty good pitch. Get along with it. Take a look at it. Certainly not the pitch you want to swing at.
And Jody had to go across his body to get it.
Questionable.
3-2.
have a note, Vin. You talk about maneuvering. In 1986, Lanier made a double switch and a triple switch using 2 first basemen and 3 center fielders in 1 inning and won. That is maneuvering.
Man, he's a pup out of Whitey Herzog.
Yes, he is. Man, a double switch and a triple switch in the same inning.
3-2 to Henderson with 2 down. 6-3 Cubs in the 6th. Runners ready to go. And that's hit foul down the right field line. Now, DePino has made 3 consecutive pitches in the same spot.
Right on that outside corner, and that was, when you hear somebody talk about fighting off a pitch, that's exactly what Henderson just did. He wasn't going to drive that ball anywhere. He just got enough of it to foul it off.
You think he'll stay outside?
I would think he would, because if he turns on it, it's a 3-run homer.
How about 4? Fake the second.
4. I forgot one. Now, if we got 5 on that, that's the story. If we get 5, I'm looking at where Jody is setting up, because it looked like he was going to go inside, but then he may be doing it for Henderson's sake.
3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. The base is loaded, and there's a high fly ball to center. It is playable. Dave Martinez is there. And they lead 3 and get 2, and it is 6-3 Chicago. A reminder next week on the Game of the Week. Major League Baseball, an inside look, followed by the Cubs at Shea Stadium in New York, or the Cincinnati Reds in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. And, of course, that weekend of the Reds in Los Angeles will mark the return of Pete Rose as an active manager. Although the Reds would also like to mark the return of Eric Davis, Nick Ossowski, Leon Durham, and Tracy Jones. They're all banged up. The incredible Joaquin Man, Joaquin Andujar. 999 strikeouts in his career. This staff is amazing that the Astros have gathered together. Of course, it's spearheaded by Nolan Ryan, but the staff has over 10,000 strikeouts. So Andujar will be pitching to Sean Dunston. Then he'll be working to Frank DePino.
Nolan Ryan is an incredible story to be able to throw as hard as he is throwing now.
He'll be pitching against the Cubs tomorrow. Joaquin Andujar, 35 years old. Two and 0 the count. Andujar, much traveled, started with Houston way back in '76. Went over to St. Louis from '81 through '85. 2 years with Oakland, and then signed as a free agent by Houston. In there. Last year, Joaquin Andujar was on the disabled list 4 times. And he's been on it already this year. He's only been in 4 games. Chopper into right field. Base hit for Dunston. That means the Cubs have come up with a base hit in every inning. The batter now will be Frank DePino.
It's a big hit because now you can get DePino to bunt that ball, get him out of the way, and put a man in scoring position.
After DePino, you have Dave Martinez and then Rafael Palmeiro. The Astros looking bunt. Craig Reynolds in on the grass. And Glenn Davis ready to push off first base and come to the plate. Dunston has stolen 4 out of 6 this year. The Cubs have not been a running club at all, as we mentioned, last in running in the league. Strike 1.
You know, sometimes when you're almost 99% sure of the bunt, you tell your pitcher, just lay that ball in there because we're charging so hard and get the chance for the double play. You're almost guaranteed bunt right here, and you don't want to put that extra stuff on that high fastball like you usually do to have him pop it up.
0-1. And he's swinging. And just did hold the bat back, and they count 1 ball, 1 strike. So they took it off at least to that pitch.
That pitch they did. And Collier's going through signs again. I said, you have to be absolutely sure, like getting a sign. You're still looking bunt. But when you let up on that pitch, you better be 99% sure he's going to bunt.
And there he goes, hit and run. It's going to be Billy Hatcher. And over to third base, instead of a double play, goes Dunston.
Hatcher, I'm sure, was looking to see where Dunston was and knew he had a cinch double play, and it kind of sailed a little bit on him. Now watch him. He should have caught that ball and double play, and now it's first and third in big trouble.
First and third and nobody out, and Billy Hatcher will draw the error as he was fooled by that sailor hit into left field. For Hatcher, that's only the second error that he's committed this year, but it's a big one now. It turns the tide of the game. You had the feeling it was starting to move in favor of Houston. And now the Cubs have a golden opportunity to come back, and they're leading by 3 as it is. Dave Martinez struck out, singled, struck out again. He's 1 for 3. Remember, he likes to bunt, so they could even squeeze, although I guess you don't squeeze too often in Wrigley Field, especially with the wind blowing out.
Man, nobody out, you got it going. I just saw Reynolds let his catcher know the ball's hitting me. I'm coming to you. They're back at second and short. But I tell you, that ball's not going to get out there that big a hurry.
0-1 to count. Breaking ball hit down the right field line. Going back is Bass to handle it. Tagging up is Dunston to score. So instead of the inning being over, the Cubs get a gift run, and there's still only 1 out.
See Lanier and Menke, and that's the kind of thing that keeps a losing streak going. Instead of a double play, 1 run is in, and the inning's still going.
So Hatcher, fooled on the drive by DePino, had an easy double play if he catches the ball because Dunston was already into second base. So it is 7-3 Chicago. 1 out, DePino at first, and here's Palmeiro. 0-1. Raphael grounded out, flied out, and then homered in the 4th inning. He hit it over into the street, back of right field. One and 0. Away. So the Cubs with 11 hits, including a triple by Dunston, which was a ball that was misjudged or lost in the glare by Gerald Young. So everything going their way so far. That's at least 3 runs that might not have scored. They'll take them. 1 ball, 1 strike. And there's a hopper to second. And DePino is on his way to third. And for Houston, watch yourself driving home.
Man, I tell you, they better issue electric razors. That ball was hit hard enough to be a double play on an infield that's been slowing the ball down. That's how hard he hit it. And it goes right through Pankovitz, and he did that earlier on the ball on the hit and run play when he was standing on second base. So he's had himself a tough day.
And for Hal Lanier, he is thinking of what might have been. Plus, every day the Astros play without him, every day proves the point of how much they miss Bill Dorrance. And there's no knock on Pankovitz. And here is Andre Dawson. So Andahar should be sitting in the cool of the dugout. And look out. And it hit him. So Dawson is hit on the right hand, and the bases are loaded. Andre, who of course was severely beamed last year by Eric Schau, this time was struck on the hand.
They tried to pitch him high and tight, sail in and just nix him, and of course everybody thinks about that Eric Schau. Now Lee Wire, is he going to go out and talk to him?
I don't know, because to be honest, Dawson dives into the pitch anyway, so anything inside has a chance to hit him. Les Moss going out to the mound.
Well, he said something to him, but Dawson is a very aggressive hitter. He starts in. Now watch him come towards the plate as he strides.
I mean, he's locked in there for any pitch inside.
And you have have to pitch inside. If you don't pitch inside, then you're a 500 pitcher. And Lee Wire now is talking to Don Zimmer, so I don't know, maybe they're claiming he was throwing at him. It's the umpire's judgment. It's a whole new thing they've come up with.
And Lee just might be trying to head them off at the pass by saying, look, I really don't know, and I don't have any strong feeling about it, but let's not let this thing. But watch his left foot now.
He goes right into it. I don't think he was throwing at him.
No, I don't either.
He's going on in. That ball, he's trying to pitch inside, and he just goes in, and now he's there. There's nothing he can do.
He is locked. So Dawson gets aboard the hard way, hit by the pitch. Rafael Palmeiro is at second base. Frank DePino is at third. Ball one to Ryan Sandberg.
Boy, in contrast to our game last week where the Tigers hardly give anything away, they just give the team 3 outs. This Houston team has given this Cub team in this inning alone about 8 outs.
The Astros came in with pretty good numbers defensively. They had only made 30 errors, but they have struggled today. They've committed 3 errors thus far. 1 ball and no strike. Line drive, left field base hit. In comes DePino. In comes Palmeiro. And the Cubs are right back on top of the heap, leading 9-3. So the Astros have no one but themselves to blame. They made a charge, got the bases loaded for the tying runs aboard, and let it get away in the top of the 6th. And now in the bottom of the 6th, some shoddy play, and instead of being out of the inning unscored upon, the Cubs have nailed them for 3 more and lead 9-3.
This inning started with Dunson in the 8th place hitter, then the pitcher spot, 9th place hitter. Those are the guys you got to get out of there, because then if you don't get them, now Palmeiro is leading the league. Dawson and Sandberg, enough said. Those guys are going to hit.
And here's Mark Grace, 0-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. To win the inning, Dunston single to right. They played hit and run. DePino hit a line drive. Dunston was already to second base. The ball took off a little and fooled Billy Hatcher. If he catches the ball, you have an easy double play, and Martinez' fly ball ends the inning. Instead, Hatcher didn't catch the ball, and they've gone on to score 3. In fact, maybe 4, although Dawson hesitated on the base hit. They will stop him at third, and the bases are loaded again. Tell you one thing, Joaquin Andujar is ready to eat the ball, or his glove, or both, or a combination thereof.
Anytime, anywhere, because it has been a rugged inning for him. Here is Dawson now. The ball is hit. He's starting back, he hesitates, and that's where he loses the chance to score, right there.
Andre Dawson is going to come out for a runner now to give him a well-deserved rest.
He had his left leg taped, man, when he was in the clubhouse. I don't know, it's not serious injury, but I'm sure there's a weakness there, and they're just kind of protecting it with the big lead.
Darren Jackson will run for him. So Jackson at third, Sandberg at second, Grace at first. Jody Davis single to center, single to left, and grounded to short. 2 for 3. Ball 1. In case you wonder about it, Jody's had 5 grand slams in his career. He's up there in a jackpot spot. 9-3 Chicago. Ball 2. Davis is the 8th man to come to the plate here in the 6th inning.
Man, a 2-ball, no strike count, 3-1 count is the one you don't want to get to when the bases are loaded, and Jody is really in good shape.
2-0 on the corner.
Jody didn't like that call, but when you talk about consistency, remember when Henderson was up there, that pitch right on that outside part of the plate was called a strike by Lee Wire. So he has been consistent. Whether you agree with his call or not, the consistency is there.
Rick Sutcliffe was going to be on the sidelines. Remember, he went on the 21-day disabled list at the start of the game, retroactive to the 21st of May. Here's a 2-1 pitch. In there, 2-2.
Jody looking for that ball from the middle of the plate in, and he's taking that one from the middle of the plate out, but he can't take any more. He's got 2 strikes on him.
Jackson, Sandberg, and Grace all at the ready. Remember, only 1 out. That was a scoring fly ball by Martinez to right field. The fly ball that picked up Dunston. Sidearm fastball, hit the center. Young going back and makes a dazzling catch. Jackson tagged at third and scored, but what a play by Gerald Young. It is also 10-3 Chicago.
Jackson could have been caught in no man's land, but when the ball was hit, he went back. Now, Young, he really makes a great grab here, reaches, and look at that, looked like an ice cream cone, and down he goes and still able to hold it in that webbing. What a play here, Ben.
Oh, a marvelous play by Gerald Young. As he sprawls on the grass, 1 run came in. Sandberg tried to go back and tag, but Young was on his feet and ready to throw. So the batter is Vance Law. So the only 2 outs in the inning have been scoring fly balls, and the Cubs have opened it up 10-3.
And there was another one of those pitches on that outside part of the plate, if indeed it caught the corner. But again, Wire has been calling that a strike all day.
And that's hit foul down the right field line out of play. So actually, when you start to count up how many outs the Cubs have gotten, they had 2, 3, 4. That fly ball was the 5th out. And they still have 1 more to spend.
I was going to say, how many times in the inning you have a chance for a double play and don't make it? They had it twice.
Sidearm breaking ball outside. Also, as a tip-off on Jody Davis, Andujar tried to sidearm by way of third, and boy, did he stay in on it and drive it.
He did. Good thing for that glove that Young's got out there. He got in the webbing and yanked it back down.
1-2. Over the top breaking ball, and the count 2-2. Vance Law, the 9th man to come to the plate. Cubs scored 5 times in the first inning. They've scored 4 here in the 6th. Imagine the Cubs had scored 11 runs in 9 previous games at Wrigley Field, and they have 10 runs in 5 2/3 innings today. Sidearmer fouled away.
Boy, that's an inning you go back to the bench and you almost stop thinking about it, because Hatcher catches the ball, double play. Pankovich catches the ball, double play, and the inning's over, and here you are. You're out there for an hour.
And pay 4 runs for the privilege. Deuce and Wild on Law. And that's it right at the shortstop, and Ramirez stays with it. So it took 6 outs, but the Astros finally retire the side. The Cubs pick up 4. 10-3 Chicago. Will be back after these messages from your local station. For the Chicago White Sox up in Toronto 3-2. San Francisco leading Philadelphia 3-2 in the bottom of the 7th. Oakland leading Boston 3-1 in the top of the 2nd. And a final score, Montreal trailing 2-1, came up with a run to tie and got a run in the 10th inning and beat the Dodgers 3-2. And just to cover all the sports, Detroit leading the Celts at halftime by 8. Joaquin Andujar thinking of what might have been. Any kind of defensive play, and it's still 6-3 Chicago. Shoddy defensive play, it is 10-3 Chicago. Ball 1 to Gerald Young. Struck out, doubled, flied to left. 1 for 3. So the Astros losing 3 in a row by 1 run, and they're on the edge of losing their 4th straight. Fouled away. Houston has had a terrible time with 2 National League teams. And they are having a very awkward spell here in Chicago. The Cubs on their way to beating them 3 out of 5. The Mets have beaten them 3 out of 4. San Diego has beaten them 3 out of 5. And in case you missed it, joining us late, the word out of San Diego by way of New York, where the ball club was, Larry Boa has been replaced by Jack McKeon, and McKeon the interim manager, the last we heard. 3-1 to Gerald Young. All 4. Of course, the big rumor is, or was, that Dallas Green was going to go there, but I don't know of any substance behind that.
I don't either. I can't see him doing that.
That's got to be a little frustrating for Don Zimmer. Everything has gone his way, but nevertheless, leading 10-3, he sees his pitcher, Frank DePino, walk the leadoff man.
You remember the first time we saw Zimmer, he told his catchers not to move back there. Put that big glove directly behind the plate and hold it there. Throw strikes.
Here's Billy Hatcher. 4-1, 1-0. Zimmer was beside himself with all the walks that the Cub pitchers were surrendering. To give you an idea, the Cubs had given up more than 50 walks, more than the opposition. And a lot of them are cashed in for extra at-bats and runs.
Jody's going to take a long walk out there and simply tell DePino, hey, listen, man, look at the scoreboard. All you have to do is throw strikes. We can't catch a walk.
2 balls and no strikes to count. The Cubs with a big 5 and a big 4, and they're leading 10-3. We're in the 7th inning. Hatcher has grounded out, busted his bat, and had Mark Grace made a great diving catch. And he was hit by a pitch, stole a base, and scored on the home run by Ashby in the 6th inning. Strike. 2-1. For DePino, he had the inheritance of 3 runners in the 6th inning. That means he's inherited 14 runners this year and has not allowed a 1 to score. Now that's relief. 2 balls and 2 strikes, the count to Billy Hatcher. Another interesting thing, although they don't think it's very interesting, I'm sure, the Astros record on the grass. They lose today, they will have lost 7 out of 9 playing on grass. Line drive off the glove and caught by Dunston anyway.
Tip ball. That'll make the highlight film. He stayed right with it. Great concentration because he jumps up and ball pops out and he stayed right with it. You can see he's happy about it, and why not? Ball is well hit. He stayed right with it. And he's ready to go for the double play, Ben.
Follow the bouncing ball. Sean Dunston is 6'1", and he was able to get up the ladder in a hurry to handle that one. And now the batter is Glenn Davis. Struck out twice, grounded out. Fouled away. The power shortage for the Astros really causing Hal Lanier some concern. Davis, of course, who has hit over 20 home runs each of the last 3 years, got off to a great start. The only home runs hit lately have been 3 home runs hit by Alan Ashby, including 1 today. The Astros have hit 20 home runs. The Cubs have hit 42. More than twice as many. Well, now Gerald Young standing at first. 10-3 Chicago in the 7th. High foul off first, out of play. The Astros, without a doubt, have a wonderful starting 5. I remember when they went into Pittsburgh, the Astros are saying what a great starting staff they have, and it's true. And Mike Scott immediately shut out Pittsburgh, and they turned right around, did the Bucks, and beat Nepper and Ryan, or at least winning those games. Now in this game, the Cubs have dispatched Mike Scott earlier than he's been chased in any game this year. Scott went out for a hitter after working only 4 innings. And he was charged with 6 runs. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Fouled away.
And usually good pitching and defense work hand in hand, so you can see Scott leaves, and here we got errors all over the place.
And the most frustrated player is the idle Bill Doran, who's been on the shelf almost 2 weeks. There's a drive to left field and deep. Palmeiro to the track at the wall. It is on top of the basket and in it for a home run. So it shows you what the defense has done. Remember that cartoon, we have met the enemy and they are us? Well, that's the story for Houston. They're their own worst enemy. So Glenn Davis, a 2-run home run, but they still have a long way to go. Instead of being 6-5, it is 10-5. And the batter will be Alan Ashby. For DePino, he's no doubt grumbling to himself about walking the leadoff man because it was promptly cashed in. So 10-5 Chicago in the 7th. For the Glenn Davis Marching and Chowder Society in Houston. After this pitch, we will show you that. Should have been worth 3 points for that distance, but he'll only get 2. He puts it in the basket. Here it comes.
Didn't seem to really drive it, almost like he went out and got it out low over the plate. Knew he was under it, and DePino, he knows it's gone. He's heard that awful sound before.
10-5 in favor of the Cubs. 1 ball and 1 strike to Alan Ashby, who was not the hitter right-handed that he is left-handed. Ashby is grounded out, doubled, and homered, but all from the other side of the plate. As a right-handed batter, it's hardly worth talking about. He's hitting 125. 2-2. Alex Trevino, the veteran catcher, is the backup catcher for Houston. But that's about the last card you play, your backup catcher. 2-2 to Allen. So DePino goes all the way. So Zimmer has seen his team lead 5-0, 6-1, 6-3, 10-3, and now 10-5. Line drive right at Dunston. He better not play umpire. That's it. Throw to first and then argue.
Well, there's McSherry and Montague, when he was looking for an appeal, finally raised their hands, but you're so right. That's what Osowski did on that plate. It got Rose in trouble.
You bet. You just grab it and never mind looking for a sign. Throw it to first, and then you can see what the call is. And Dunston started to look around, but got rid of it. Now he and McSherry gesturing to each other. 2 down in the 7th inning. And the batter is Kevin Bass, and DePino really isn't fooling anybody. Look at the inning. He walked young. Hatcher hit a bullet. Dunston up the ladder, got his glove on it, and after having the ball pop out of the glove, he caught it. Then the home run by Davis. Now the line drive out by Ashby. Fly ball. He didn't get around on it quickly enough. It was inside. He couldn't turn on it, and Palmeiro will put it away. 2 runs, 1 hit, and at the end of 6 1/2, 10-5 Chicago. Now here's another edition of Characters of the Game. The Philadelphia Phillies have caught the Giants in the 8th inning. That one all tied 3-3. We go to the bottom of the 7th with another glance back at Oakland leading Boston 3-2, top of the 3rd. Final score, Montreal beat the Dodgers 3-2. Toronto and Chicago is over. The White Sox won that game 3-2. 10-5 Cubs with Dunston to start it off. Right. Dunston followed by DePino and Martinez. That was the way the 6th inning began, and it turned out to be a 4-run inning, and really the ball game. Lined into center, sinking for a base hit. His 4th hit. Sean Dunston with 3 singles and a triple.
Same situation we had the last inning. He started with a base hit, and you remember DePino tried to bunt on the first pitch, did not execute, and then didn't indicate bunt, ended up hitting a fly ball that Hatcher couldn't hold. It would have been a double play, and the merry-go-round was started.
In case you wonder, this is not the biggest day Sean Dunston has ever had, although 4 for 4 will do it. He had a 5-hit game against Pittsburgh 2 years ago. So Dunston collects the Cubs' 14th hit. And the batter now Frank DePino with Dave Martinez on deck. 10-5 Chicago, and they're looking for more. When the Astros come up, Reynolds, Pankovic, and Ramirez, and Andujar is due to bat 4th in the 8th inning, so they'll back him up in the bullpen. It was DePino, you remember, tried to bunt and then swung away in the 6th inning with Dunston going, and he hit the line drive, and Hatcher was tied up for an error, and that turned the whole inning around. It should have been a 1-2-3 inning. A pitch out, and Dunston holding. Dunston has stolen 4 out of 6. Chuck Cartier coaching at third, Jose Martinez at first. One ball and 1 strike. He tried to bunt. 1-2.
With that attempt, I could see why he put the hit-and-run play on. There's no chance to bunt that one. Now he's taking a good look and see if Zimmer wants him to bunt on the 3rd strike.
On the ball that he hit when they played hit-and-run, it was a 1-1 count. Now it's 1-2. Reynolds not convinced. Craig is still in on the grass at 3rd. And that will take care of him. He got a breaking ball. So 1 out. And the batter will be Dave Martinez. Those folks who keep track of such things, the wind is blowing out, although it's only a zephyr out of the south, but it is still blowing out. The first 18 home games that the Cubs played this year, they tell me the wind was blowing out only 3 games. 3 of 18. One reason why the Cubs have hit twice as many home runs on the road as they have here at Wrigley Field early in the year. Of course, remember last year the Cubs hit 209 home runs. It's ball 1 to Dave Martinez, who struck out twice, single to left, and had a scoring fly ball in the 6th inning.
Both these managers, you know, they don't go by the scoreboard whether you run or not. They'll run at any time.
We'll watch Dunston. Fouled away. 1-1. Don Zimmer, a very aggressive ball player. You can bet he has a very aggressive ball club. One ball, 1 strike. Ball 2. The Cubs began the day 9 games behind the Mets and 1 game under 500. And they will finish up this homestand tomorrow, and then they have a very tough road trip. 2-1. There goes Dunston. The pitch, a strike. The throw high and late. So Zimmer sees Dunston steal his 5th in 7 tries.
It isn't just a stolen base of today. It'll give him the confidence for that stolen base tomorrow, and it's not even a close play. And it was a fastball that Ashby had to throw.
So Dunston, 3 singles and a triple, a stolen base, a run scored, and 2 driven in. Ground ball down the line. That will get Dunston home, and Martinez will go to second as Bass fell down, so he keeps on going to third.
And Bass slipped in right field. He assumed that Martinez was going to stop at second, and Martinez just kept right on going. The throw went into second base. Now Davis gives it a good attempt. It gets by him. He's got no chance. It's by him. Now Bass is charging the ball hard. When he slips here, now he comes up. He throws it into second base. There you see Martinez. He's going to stop there. Then sees what happens, and he takes off.
Kevin Bass will draw an error. It'll be a double and an error charge to Bass. It is 11-5 Chicago. The Astros with the infield up, and Joaquin Andujar has got to figure this is just not his day. They're all falling down on him. 0-1. A fly ball to center and deep. Gerald Young going back, away back. It's gone.
I think we've reached the third act where everybody dies.
I think this is it. It's all over.
Man, I said that ball just kept going and going. And it's 368 in left center field. It's about 3/4 of the way up.
Rafael Palmeiro homered with the bases empty in the 4th, and now a 2-run home run in the 7th. A big day for him, and the batter is Darren Jackson. Remember, Dawson was nailed when Andujar was hot in the 6th. Darren Jackson, strike just a little low. Ball 1, 1-0. Jackson running for Dawson. So Rafael Palmeiro, another of the fine young ball players, and with 2 home runs today, he has 5. He came into the game hitting .355, did Rafael Palmeiro, leading the National League. It's the first 2 home run game of his career. He just stroked it, a left-hand hitter, and he just goes and drives it into the left center field seats.
Outside part of the plate, he didn't try to pull it, and Andujar, you can see, he knew it was hit well.
Popped in the air back to first base and down the line. Davis and Pankovitz, and it falls amongst them, and Bass picks it up, and Houston has to be downright embarrassed.
I tell you, Andujar would have a right to at least check the roster and see if they're wearing the same uniform, because it's just not happening for him, and Lanier's going to have to make a move here, which he will. He'll make a double switch and maybe make a move with the right fielder. I don't know how he's going to make the move. But
well, Bass made the last out, so there might be some people who think it's a punishment, but that's not it. Since Bass made the last out, they'll make a 2-for-1 switch, and they'll put the pitcher in Bass's spot, and then the right fielder can bat 9th. But it is all Houston. They've never gotten off the ground as the Cubs have. Kevin Bass, a good ball player who is downcast and embarrassed over the recent turn of events, not to mention the feelings of Joaquin Andujar. Meanwhile, Juan Agosto, who pitched here in Chicago for the White Sox in 81, 82, 83, 84, and 85, now returns pitching for Houston. Agosto, the 4th Houston pitcher. In right field here in Wrigley Field has become Jacksonville. Not St. Petersburg, but Jacksonville. Chuck Jackson for the Astros, Darren Jackson for the Cubs. Ground ball to shortstop. They got the play at 3rd, and caught in the switch is Darren Jackson, and he will be tagged out at the last moment by Jim Pankovitz.
you were almost looking for that play to be a little bit jammed up, but they made it because of what's happened this afternoon. Of course, Jackson running off ran into an easy out, and you thought, uh-oh, don't tell me they're going to mess this one.
6-5-4, and Reynolds finally giving the ball to Pankovitz. Almost a little too late. He made it awfully close, but he got him. It is a humbling game, and the batter is Mark Grace. That's right. Mark Grace singled to right, flied to left, grounded out, and singled to right again. He has an RBI. It has been a field day for the Chicago hitters. Sidearmer in on the hands, hit the bat, and as he tried to get out of the way, he's going to be retired. 3-1. And a couple more for Chicago. At the end of 7, 13-5. Ingredients that certainly goes into the makeup of a Major League ball player, among other things, is pride. Consequently, the worst thing that can happen to a big league player is to either A, be shown up, or B, to be embarrassed.
And today, there are a few players out there embarrassed. All you can do is try to forget it, but it's not going to be easy sleeping tonight.
No, especially because they will now have lost 4 in a row, and they do have Nolan Ryan go tomorrow, but they played poorly, and they had their best pitcher, Mike Scott, chased earlier than ever this year.
A game you thought you were going to win. The only thing worse than that would be a hidden ball trick, some really embarrassing thing, but this is bad enough.
So for the Cubs, they think everything is just great. They're moving to 500, and they're trying to nail Houston one more time. It is 13-5 in favor of the Cubs. The Astros with Reynolds, Pankovich, and Ramirez. What must also be frustrating and annoying for Houston, the fact that there, but for 1 or 2 little things, they would be very much in the game. I mean, way back, Reynolds' line drive with runners at 2nd and 3rd in the 4th inning, right at Rafael Palmeiro. If that one is in for a hit, why, they're right back in the game 6-5. If Hatcher had caught the drive into left field, it would be a different game. But, of course, you can starve to death on the word if. And that's not in time. A single for Reynolds. And Ryan tried to backhand and get him and couldn't do it. So Reynolds is 2 for 4. Jim Pankovich will be the batter. Pankovich has struck out, fly to center, and walked, and Jim has committed 2 errors. Ball's going right between his legs, so he has to be visibly unhappy about this one.
And with him especially, Vin, because it wasn't just 1 out, it was double play.
Standing right on the bag, and maybe that was part of the problem. 1-0 to Jim. 2 balls and no strikes. So the Cubs, with a victory today, would be at the 500 mark. They were 2 games under 500 at home, and they are 2 above on the road. Philosophically, I guess Lanier's only point is, well, maybe we've gotten all our bad baseball out today. That's the only way to keep it from going crazy, I guess, anyway.
You're going to try to find a reason, but then you look at the scoreboard, and there go all your reasons.
Frank DiPino has certainly not been a lockout there, anything but. And DiPino now has an infield single and a walk and nobody out in the 8th inning. 10-5, then 13-5. So the Astros a long way to go.
And you can't blame it on the plate umpire, Lee Wire. He certainly isn't pinching it.
Oh, no. In fact, he has been consistent. The borderline outside pitch, you know what he's calling all day. Ramirez struck out twice and walked. 0 for 2.
See, that's bad pitching. You got a big lead like that, you walk a man, you start behind. Your infielders start to play back on their heels. The outfielders start to wander. It's just not good pitching.
Remember, he walked the leadoff man in the 7th inning. Behind 2-0. So Frank DiPino is struggling. This is still Calvin Schiraldi's game to win.
Next time you come to the ballpark and you're in a situation like this, watch the infielders. Dunston's got his head down, Law is back, Sandberg was pawing the dirt. I mean, it's tough to stay in when you don't really feel like the ball's going to be hit to you.
2 balls and no strikes. Chuck Jackson on deck. In the air to right center field. Jackson and Martinez, and it will be Darren Jackson. So the runners hold. So Ramirez. Fly ball to right field, 1 out. Darren Jackson, after running for Andre Dawson, stayed in the game. And now Chuck Jackson coming up for Houston. Chuck Jackson finishing up after that double switch in right field for Kevin Bass. Jackson followed by Gerald Young. Fouled away. The paid attendance today at Wrigley Field, 34,690. 34,690.
And Ben, with the mention of that, I thought it was great. Cleveland last night in their ballpark, 37,000. So they're playing well, and it looks like the crowds are coming out.
The weather's warming up. Baseball interest increasing every day. Another foul ball out of play. For the Cubs, they've been averaging a little more than 18,000 a game. So they almost doubled up today. Magnificent weather in Chicago. Whoa, doesn't get much better. And as warm as it is, no great humidity, so it's ideal. 0-2. And I'm sure they'll have another fine crowd out here tomorrow to see Jamie Moyer and Nolan Ryan. And they're on the rooftops. 2 on, 1 out in the 8th. 13-5 in favor of the Cubs. A drive to left field. Palmeiro going back, and this one is in the ivy. He plays it perfectly. Laboring to the plate is Reynolds to score. Over to third goes Pankovic, and it is 13-6 in favor of Chicago. And as we said, DePino has looked very, very shaky, and if somebody takes him downtown, you have a game again.
That ball was hit hard, but played just absolutely dead perfect. Palmeiro knows it's going to be off the wall, comes right back to him, and he fires it into second base. And at least he keeps the double play in order where they can get out of the inning.
Frank DePino will now be working on Gerald Young. Young has struck out and double, flied out, and walked against DePino in the 7th inning. 0-1. Young does not have a home run. 13-6 in favor of the Cubs. That's a strike. That borderline pitch that causes the hitter to hesitate has been called a strike all day. So if you're the hitter, you're going to start swinging at that pitch. 1-1.